Chapter 3292. Many powerful clansmen were tied up by the imperial nobles as if they were dogs. Therefore, once Qin Yun went over, he showed no mercy and killed all the imperial nobles in one move. Luo Yaya would follow behind and use a special storage magic treasure to rescue those who were enslaved. In the middle of the night, chaos is still raging outside Daluo Empire's city gate. More than half of the imperial nobles who were unable to enter the city have already died. This is also the first time in Daluo Empire's history that nobles have suffered the most casualties. This matter has also spread throughout the entire Nine Sun Holy Ground. It must be known that many powerful warriors in the empire eventually become nobles, or even important figures in the empire are also nobles. Their descendants will also have the same status. If the empire no longer values these nobles, those powerful warriors will be bitterly disappointed, and this will affect the morale of the imperial soldiers. Now many nobles inside the city want to open the city gate. The imperial nobles outside the city are cursing the city guards for disregarding their lives. If this continues, they will all die outside. Qin Yun stopped after killing half of them. Next, it will depend on the barbarians' support. It must be said that the barbarians are very ambitious. Many of them are lying in ambush near Daluo Imperial City. No one knows what their goal is. In short, more and more barbarians are appearing. When dawn is about to break, the number of barbarians has reached 10,000. Moreover, each and every one of them can go berserk. Although the imperial soldiers were also very powerful, they had only killed a dozen barbarians so far. Many of the barbarians' huge bodies are full of scars, but they are not bleeding. Moreover, their recovery ability is very strong. The most terrifying thing is that their bodies are very tough. Qin Yun saw that after a barbarian was stabbed by a sword, his muscles immediately tightened and then forcibly broke the sword that was stabbed into his body. These barbarians are simply invincible existences. Outside Daluo Imperial City, the imperial soldiers are unable to fight back. Daluo imperial soldiers should be retreating. Even if they send out more troops, it will not be a direct battle. Luo Yaya said. If this continues, the imperial soldiers will only suffer heavy casualties. At most, they will be able to repel the barbarians, they will not be able to annihilate them. Qin Yun nodded. The 4 kings and 9 generals have not come out yet. This means that they are still scouting to see if there are any stronger barbarians nearby. Luo Yaya also subconsciously looked around. The barbarians definitely had an extremely powerful leader, but they had yet to appear. They were definitely waiting for the empire's general king to come out. At this moment, a small door suddenly opened. This small door was only 5 meters tall, and it was a small opening under the huge door. Of the tens of thousands of soldiers that were sent out, only 5,000 were left. There was no point in continuing to fight. These warriors were still relatively important. If they were allowed to die outside, the warriors of the Daluo Empire would definitely not be happy. This is my chance, Qin Yun said with a smile. Then, he immediately pulled Luo Yaya and cast an invisibility spell. At this time, the nobles of the empire shouted and rushed toward the small door. The barbarians were simply too powerful. Even the empire's soldiers were extremely afraid of them. When they saw the small door open, they also rushed over like a swarm of bees, causing the situation to become extremely chaotic. Qin Yun brought Luo Yaya with him. After making himself invisible, he used his penetration divine ability to blend into the crowd and easily entered the city. At the same time, a large group of warriors flew out of the city, as well as some medium-sized warships. Qin Yun looked at the sky, took down the battleship and shot out a huge sphere. They are going to set up a formation. Now we can only seal the barbarians, this is the best method. Qin Yun and Luo Yaya entered the city and quickly disguised themselves. I suspect that the upper echelons of the Daluo Empire have been waiting for this opportunity. Or, they purposely blocked some of the nobles to attract the barbarians, in order to capture more barbarians. Luo Yaya said, "They also want to study the barbarians and obtain their power." "That is possible. If we can capture more than 10,000 barbarians, it will be a great profit for the Daluo Empire." Qin Yun heard Luo Yaya mention it and realized that the bloodline of the barbarians is very special and has great research value. In addition, the four great empires and Taishan powers have often captured barbarians as slaves since a long time ago. If they can capture more than 10,000 powerful barbarians and control them, they will become a very powerful army. The upper echelons of the empire are truly sinister. They are not hesitant to sacrifice their own people. Qin Yun cursed in low voice. The rules for entering and leaving the Emperor City are very strict. In the past, we could only leave but not enter. Now we can't even leave even if we want to. Luo Yaya took out 5 soul-chasing talismans and frowned when she saw that 3 of them have no reaction. "What happened?" Qin Yun asked. 3 of my 5 subordinates died." Luo Yaya sighed. "Looks like we have been exposed. After all, this is the Emperor City of the Daluo Empire. Spying here is more or less risky. Come, let's go find these 2. The other 3 have already failed, so these 2 are also in danger. Let's quickly find them and protect them," Qin Yun said. Luo Yaya nodded, then immediately led Qin Yun through the streets of the Emperor City. They did not dare to walk too fast, lest they arouse the suspicion of the patrols on the street. Daluo Imperial City is very large. It is said that the Daluo Celestial Emperor is also in the city. The 4 kings and 9 generals all have very large villas. In addition, there are nobles of various sizes, fleet captains, and some generals. All of them have very large territories. The Daluo Celestial Emperor has many children, so their mansions take up a lot of space. Logically speaking, the Daluo Crown Prince should be in the Imperial Palace, but according to Luo Yaya's intelligence, he is rarely in the palace. The Daluo Crown Prince is afraid of being harmed in the palace, so he only has avatars in the palace. His true body is definitely in the Emperor City, because if the Daluo Celestial Emperor summons him, he has to be there in person. The Daluo Crown Prince is very cunning. His mansions outside the palace are all avatars. His true body is hiding in a very obscure place in the Emperor City. With the soul-chasing talisman in hand, Luo Yaya did not head for the underground palace, but to the north of the Emperor City. "Yaya, is Luo Shuang in the city too?" Qin Yun asked. "After I killed General Bingyang, Luo Shuang performed very well. Did she receive any rewards in the end?" "After General Bingyang's death, she became very famous. I only heard that the remaining 4 kings and 9 generals think highly of her," Luo Yaya said. "The northern district of the Emperor City that we are heading to is Luo Shuang's territory. The Daluo Celestial Emperor bestowed the entire northern district to her. It originally belonged to the Crown Prince." Chapter 3293. Qin Yun was not surprised to learn of the Daluo Crown Prince's situation. He only felt a little disappointed, because the Daluo Crown Prince was in a period of frustration. Killing him now would have a much weaker impact on the Daluo Empire. Will the Daluo Crown Prince be left out in the cold? Qin Yun looked at the mountain-like building in front of him. This building was very eye-catching. It was probably the most important place in the northern district. It was very likely that it had once been the Daluo Crown Prince's residence. Regardless, he is still the Crown Prince. Luo Yaya understood Qin Yun's feelings. If the Crown Prince of Great Luo was at the peak of his fame, killing him would create an even greater uproar. That building is huge. Does it belong to Luo Shuang now? Qin Yun asked. It used to belong to the Crown Prince, but now the northern district belongs to Luo Shuang. This building is also in her hands. Luo Yaya nodded. Luo Shuang still owes me for attacking the Vermilion Bird Paradise. Qin Yun suddenly had an idea. Luo Shuang had attacked the Vermilion Bird Paradise twice. The first time, she had caused the Vermilion Bird Paradise to suffer heavy losses. Qin Yun believed that Luo Shuang would definitely continue attacking. He had to beat this woman who could replace the Daluo Crown Prince into submission or kill her. No rush. Let's talk about it after we kill the Daluo Crown Prince, Luo Ye said. She and Qin Yun had conversed through voice transmission. There were many people on the street. It would be troublesome if they were overheard by others. Luo Ye was very concerned about her subordinate. She held the soul-chasing talismans and wanted to speed up, but she was worried that it would arouse suspicion. After slowing down, she became very anxious. They are not together. Luo Ye took out the soul-chasing talismans from time to time. Suddenly, she realized that the two talismans were pointing in different directions. She was certain that her two subordinates were in the northern district of Daluo Imperial City. Let's find the one closest to us first, Qin Yun said. Soon, they arrived at an inn. One of Luo Yaya's subordinates was inside. The inn was rather ordinary. The cost of accommodation was very low and everything was good, so it was very crowded. Within Daluo Imperial City, there were not only people from the Daluo Empire, but also people from other empires, kingdoms, and Taisha factions. On the way, Qin Yun saw blue-skinned people from the Great Blue Empire, and there were quite a few of them. After entering the inn, Luo Ye suddenly became very cautious. She originally planned to go up and look for people herself. She was also afraid that her subordinates would be captured and then set up a trap for Qin Yun. Qin Yun naturally wasn't afraid of anyone ambushing him. In all of Celestial Luo City, only the Celestial Emperor and the 4 kings and 9 generals could make him feel apprehensive. Let's go up together, there's nothing to be afraid of. Qin Yun smiled, then pulled Luo Ye upstairs. Luo Ye took out the soul-chasing talisman to point the way. Soon, they arrived at the 30th floor and stopped outside a room. She did not knock on the door. Qin Yun activated his heavenly eye and scanned the room. There's only one person inside. Qin Yun quickly confirmed. Luo Ye knocked on the door and shouted softly, "Little Six, it's me." The door opened immediately, and a handsome young man in white appeared. When he saw Luo Ye, he was surprised. "Come in first," Little Six whispered. Qin Yun and Luo Ye immediately entered the house. After entering, they discovered that there were many formations and barriers set up inside. The main purpose was to prevent others from probing and also to isolate all kinds of sound. What happened? Why are only you and Little Five alive? Luo Ye took out the soul-chasing talisman and asked hurriedly. Other than me, they all failed. Little Six said with a sorrowful expression, "Pavilion Master, you asked us to find out where the Crown Prince of Celestial Luo is, but we were hunted before we even started." Luo Ye closed her eyes and sighed, then asked, "Little Five is still alive, where is he?" "He was captured." Little Five was captured when he went to investigate Luo Shuang. The others were killed by the Crown Prince of Celestial Luo's subordinate. Little Six glanced at Qin Yun and did not ask who he was. "How were you discovered?" Luo Ye was very puzzled. The Crown Prince of Celestial Luo and Luo Shuang were fighting in the dark. We were originally Lord Luo Shu's subordinates, so he suspected that we had been taken in by Luo Shuang. He followed the clues and began to clean us up. Little Six said, "In order to do things more easily, we did not change our previous identities." On the way, Luo Ye had said that these subordinates were once waiters in some of Luo Shu's shop. After they were chosen by the Shadow Pavilion, they were nurtured as spies. "Let's save Little Five first," Qin Yun suddenly said. "We have to hurry." Little Six looked at Qin Yun strangely before shaking his head. "Brother, you might not understand our line of work. Once we fail, it means death. After we fail, we will never think of anyone coming to save us. We will find a chance to commit suicide. We will never betray the Shadow Pavilion. As long as I'm alive, I will definitely save him." Qin Yun felt that Little Five, who was captured, was working for him. Now that something had happened, he naturally could not sit idly by. Little Six did not know who Qin Yun was, but to be with Luo Yea, it meant that he had some status. After Qin Yun changed his appearance, Little Six indeed could not recognize him. Qin Yun's portrait was pasted all over the streets. If Qin Yun did not change his appearance, he would be recognized very quickly. Pavilion Master, how did you get in? During this period of time, it has been very difficult to enter and exit the city. I have been waiting for an opportunity to escape. Little Six asked. He brought me in. Luo Yaya did not reveal Qin Yun's identity mainly for safety reasons. She did not want too many people to know that Qin Yun, the Divine King, was in the Luo Imperial City. Big brother, you are really awesome. Little Six immediately looked at Qin Yun with a face full of admiration. Because he knew very well that it was as difficult as ascending to the heavens to enter and exit the Emperor's city without being checked. Qin Yun laughed and said, "Just a piece of cake. Let's go, we will now set off to save Little Five. I can save him, please believe me." Little Six looked at Luo Ye. Luo Yaya's face is also at a loss because she knew that Qin Yun entered the Luo Imperial City for a very important matter. If his identity was exposed because of saving Little Five, then his plan would fail. Little Five is her subordinate, of course she wants to save him. However, she also does not want Qin Yun's plan to fail because of this. Let's go. Qin Yun is determined to save him. And, Little Six, provide us with more detailed information, we will go save Little Five. Luo Yea gritted her teeth, her eyes are filled with gratitude. These subordinates were raised by Luo Yaya, she also feels very sorry for them. Pavilion Master, it is better not to go, it is impossible to save Little Five. Little Six shook his head and sighed. If Qin Yun was not here, Luo Yaya would also think so. Why? Qin Yun asked. Mobile users please visit. Chapter 3294. Qin Yun only knew that Little Five had been captured by Luo Shuang's faction. He did not know the exact situation. Only Little Six knew what was going on here. Little Five is most likely imprisoned in the dungeon of Luo Tian Tower, the tallest and largest building in the North District. Luo Shuang is now the Tower Master. She is in Luo Tian Tower at all times, and there are many experts from the Imperial Heaven Pavilion staying there. Especially during this period of time, Luo Shuang and the Crown Prince of Great Luo are fighting. Luo Shuang is guarding Luo Tian Tower even more tightly. Luo Yea said, Luo Tian Tower originally belonged to the Crown Prince of Great Luo. Now it has been given to Luo Shuang. The Crown Prince of Great Luo will definitely bear a grudge. Little Six nodded. Not only that, Luo Shuang also captured many of the Crown Prince's men for various reasons. Many of those who were arrested were nobles or people with reputations in the Northern District. Luo Shuang is in Luo Tian Tower? Qin Yun could see the Luo Tian Tower from the window of Little Six's room. Big brother, you might not know, but the battle between Luo Shuang and the Crown Prince of Great Luo is very intense. Luo Shuang has just obtained the Luo Tian Tower. She will definitely be waiting for the Crown Prince inside. She is waiting for an opportunity to suppress the Crown Prince to the point where he cannot make a comeback. Little Six sighed. A few of our brothers were captured and killed by the Crown Prince because of this storm. The Crown Prince of Great Luo was also capturing Luo Shuang's men. They would rather kill the wrong person than let him off. There is nothing to be afraid of in Luo Tian Tower. Wait for me here. Qin Yun planned to save Little Five alone and explore Luo Tian Tower. This, Little Six is somewhat anxious. It is clearly dangerous, but Qin Yun still wants to go. Yaya, give me the soul-chasing talisman. Qin Yun extended his hand. Luo Yea is somewhat hesitant because Little Five is in Luo Tian Tower. It is indeed very dangerous there. It's fine. Just wait for me here. Qin Yun said with a smile. Luo Yaya naturally wants to save little Five. She also knows that Qin Yun is very strong. Finally, she handed the soul-chasing talisman to Qin Yun. You must be careful, Luo Yaya exhorted. There's nothing to worry about, said Qin Yun. Little Six also knew that Qin Yun was very strong. After all, he was able to bring Luo Yaya into the city. However, he still believed that Qin Yun's actions were very dangerous. However, seeing that Qin Yun insisted on going, he could only take out Little Five's portrait and give it to Qin Yun. Xiaowu and Xiaolu looked very similar. At first glance, one could tell that they were brothers, and they both looked like teenagers. They purposely maintained their youthful appearances in order to prevent others from suspecting them, making it easier for them to spy on them. With the soul-chasing talisman and portrait in hand, Qin Yun immediately set off for Luotian restaurant. Daluo Imperial City was divided into 5 districts: North, South, East, West, and Central. In the middle was the Imperial Palace. It was very big, like a city within a city. The Luo Tian Pavilion was close to the Great Luo Emperor Palace, and one could overlook the entire palace from the top floor. Quite a few people visited the Heaven Luo Tower every day, or used their connections to gain access to the tower to get a closer look at Origin Luo Emperor Palace. The Luo Tian Pavilion was not a commercial building, but a private residence. It originally belonged to the Crown Prince of Great Luo, but now it belonged to Luo Shuang. The Celestial Emperor of Origin Luo clearly favored Luo Shuang, and might even replace the Crown Prince. Therefore, many nobles in the Imperial Palace were thinking of ways to curry favor with Luo Shuang. The nobles who had once been on good terms with the Crown Prince were now trying to distance themselves from him, or directly pay their respects to Luo Shuang and exchange large amounts of resources for her forgiveness. Otherwise, they would be ruthlessly dealt with by Luo Shuang. By the time Qin Yun arrived near the Luo Tian Pavilion, it was already dark. The Luo Tian Pavilion was built in a large manor with high walls and a barrier. It was not easy to enter. The manor's gate was huge, and there was a spacious plaza in front of it. Many luxuriously dressed nobles were kneeling outside, waiting for Luo Shuang to receive them. Qin Yun saw many people lining up at a pavilion in front of the gate to receive a number plate. If one was truly qualified to be received by Luo Shuang, the number plate would light up. Qin Yun observed the barrier and found that there were dozens of layers inside and out. It was possible to enter, but it would take a lot of time. The Luo Tian Pavilion Manor was indeed very heavily guarded. Luo Shuang was also afraid that the Crown Prince would send assassins. Qin Yun also went to line up. He planned to meet Luo Shuang directly and have her release Xiaowu. Soon it was his turn. "Who are you? Why do you want to meet our Princess Luo Shuang?" a middle-aged woman coldly asked. "I am an inscription master. I can carve heavenly runes," Qin Yun said. Inscription masters who can carve heavenly runes are very rare. These inscription masters are highly valued everywhere. The middle-aged woman immediately sized up Qin Yun and said, "Empty words are no proof. If you want to prove that you are useful to Princess Luo Shuang, you can't just rely on your mouth." "How do I prove it?" Qin Yun asked. The middle-aged woman waved her hand and called over a youth. The youth brought Qin Yun to a small room behind the pavilion and let him carve heavenly runes in peace. Qin Yun followed the youth into the room and began carving heavenly runes. He deliberately used a neither fast nor slow speed to carve a heavenly rune in half an hour. This is a flame heavenly rune. It is very ordinary for Qin Yun, but for many people, this kind of heavenly rune is very rare. Although the youth is not an inscription master, he can tell that the person before him is very powerful. He immediately contacted the middle-aged woman and asked her to come over. After the middle-aged woman saw the flame heavenly rune, she is pleasantly surprised and promptly asked, "What is your name?" "Shimin Jun." Qin Yun casually said a name. "All right, this is your number plate. You will be able to meet Princess Luo Shuang in half an hour. When your number plate vibrates, come here and someone will take you there," the middle-aged woman said. Qin Yun took the number plate and thanked her. These people did not do a thorough check on him, so he is sure that the Luo Shuang he is going to meet is only her avatar. Half an hour passed by very quickly. Qin Yun can finally enter the villa and Luo Tian restaurant. It is already night time. Qin Yun entered a very spacious room and saw a woman with skin as white as frost. She is strangely beautiful, mainly because her skin is very white and her face shape has a kind of bewitching feeling. She looks like a female demon. Luo Shuang is wearing a blue skirt and sitting on a chair. There is an empty chair in front of her. She is now looking at a pearl in her hand. There is a flame heavenly rune inside the pearl. It is the one Qin Yun carved before. Shimen Jun, your heavenly rune is not ordinary. It is impossible for an inscription master like you to not have a good place to go. I am very curious, why did you come to seek refuge with me? Luo Shuang said, her voice is clear and cold. Sit, let's have a good talk. Mobile users please visit. Chapter 3295. Qin Yun slowly sat down and stared at Luo Shuang. He did not answer immediately because he wanted to pretend to be deep in thought. The moment he saw Luo Shuang, he knew it was a clone. After stepping into the origin realm, his senses had become sharper and he could immediately tell if it was a clone or not. Although Luo Shuang was a clone, her strength was not inferior to the main body. The powerful divine universe power in her body and the aura she exuded were extremely powerful. If not for her weak mental power, Qin Yun would not have been able to tell that it was a clone. The biggest weakness of a clone was that its soul and mental power were very weak. It could be seen by paying attention to the fluctuations of the soul and mental power. People who came to see Luo Shuang outside the villa did not need to be checked to see her. It was obvious that she would use a clone to receive them. Luo Shuang kept looking at Qin Yun. She was only a clone and her mental power was too weak, so she could not see anything. The only thing she could be sure of was that Qin Yun's mental power was very strong and he did not use a clone to meet her. She really wanted to know why such an outstanding inscription master would come to her side. There must be some other reason. Are you Daluo's crown prince's man? Luo Shuang asked again. If I'm a subordinate of the crown prince of Daluo, how will you deal with me? Qin Yun said with a smile. As long as you sincerely serve me, I can give you better treatment. Luo Shuang said, I can see that your status is very high and you are very arrogant. Many people kneel down and crawl in front of me to greet me. Even if I ask them to sit, they don't dare to. Qin Yun did not greet her after coming in. He did not have any etiquette at all and sat down directly. Luo Shuang could tell from this. Furthermore, Qin Yun did not show any fear when he saw her. It was clear what kind of person he was normally. You're telling me I'm rude, aren't you? Qin Yun asked. Am I not? I am Princess Luo Shuang. You came to the northern region of Daluo Empire. Even if you are not willing to kneel like others, you should at least have some etiquette. Luo Shuang snorted. Respect is relative. When I came in, you sat down and did not stand up to greet me. Qin Yun said. Luo Shuang waved her hand and said, All right, we're even. Then tell me the purpose of your visit. Although Crown Prince de Luo's status has declined slightly, it is not enough for an inscription master like you to betray him. You can rely on me, but I need your sincerity. If you want to have a sincere talk, I have to talk to your real body. Qin Yun said indifferently, I believe that your avatar is unable to make the decision for your main body. Of course, Qin Yun wanted to see Luo Shuang's avatar. That would be even more interesting. Luo Shuang frowned, her face enraged. However, she didn't burst out. She just said coldly, You know my current situation. Why do you want to see my real body? Are you afraid that I'll kill you? Qin Yun suddenly chuckled. That's right. I'm here to capture you. Given my understanding of the Crown Prince of Daluo, I never knew that he had someone like you by his side. Luo Shuang said, with his personality, a character like you shouldn't be his subordinate. Qin Yun smiled. When did I say I was his subordinate? That's right. He doesn't deserve to be your master. You should be on equal footing with him. Luo Shuang's cold eyes suddenly lit up. What she needed now was a useful person, not a subordinate who was like a dog. I can let my main body meet you, but not here. Do you dare to go? Luo Shuang asked. Why not? Qin Yun said calmly, let's go. Luo Shuang immediately stood up and walked to a door. She opened it and led Qin Yun into a room. There was a teleportation array inside. After entering the teleportation array, Luo Shuang glanced at Qin Yun and said, Aren't you afraid that I'll take you to prison and lock you up? Qin Yun looked at her indifferently and said, You can't lock me up. If I was afraid, I wouldn't have come today. You should be more worried about yourself. Aren't you afraid that I'll capture you? Luo Shuang snorted. She wasn't afraid. Luo Tian Tower was hers. This was her territory. How could she be afraid in her own territory? Luo Shuang was a rash person to begin with. She was easily provoked. This is my territory. I call the shots, Luo Shuang said and opened the teleportation array. In the blink of an eye, Qin Yun came to a spacious secret room with 4 walls carved with strange runes. Qin Yun sensed it slightly. His mental power penetrated it and he sensed that he was underground. Moreover, this was not where Luo Tian Tower was located. This is not Luo Tian Tower. Qin Yun didn't care at all. He said with a smile, Princess Luo Shuang, you don't look very confident. After all, Luo Tian Tower used to belong to the Crown Prince. He knows it like the back of his hand. I can't stay in Luo Tian Tower for the time being, Luo Shuang said. Not long after, Luo Shuang's main body came to this secret room. Her main body looked exactly the same as her doppelganger. After her main body came, her doppelganger left immediately. She had to return to Luo Tian Tower to meet those people. Now that you've seen my main body, can we talk? Luo Shuang asked. Qin Yun closed his eyes and sensed carefully. He was sure that this was Luo Shuang's main body, which meant that she was very sincere. First of all, I'm not here to rely on you, Qin Yun said. Of course I know that. Why would a person like you need to rely on others? That's why I'm curious. Luo Shuang took out 2 chairs. After sitting down, she gestured for Qin Yun to take a seat. Second, I'm not on the Crown Prince's side. You can say that the Crown Prince of Daluo is my enemy, Qin Yun said again. That was indeed the case. He wasn't lying. This surprised Luo Shuang because she thought that Qin Yun was an important person beside the Crown Prince. What else? Luo Shuang asked. Another thing is to save someone. Qin Yun continued, because of your fight with the Crown Prince, my people were mistakenly captured by you. Luo Shuang frowned. The person in front of her was not here to rely on her. This made her feel like she had been fooled. Anything else? Luo Shuang continued to ask patiently. Finally, I have a score to settle with you. After saying that, Qin Yun suddenly stood up from the chair, took a step forward and grabbed Luo Shuang's neck. On the palm of his other hand, a heavenly patterned seal was already condensed. He immediately pressed his palm on Luo Shuang's body and imprinted the heavenly pattern on her body, sealing her god cosmic energy. It had to be said that Luo Shuang's reaction was very fast. Her intuition was very sharp and she could sense danger. Therefore, she immediately activated the array around the secret room. Even though all of her divine cosmos energy and mental cosmos energy had been sealed, with just a thought, she had already activated the array formation in the secret chamber. Chapter 3296. When Qin Yun arrived at the secret chamber, he saw the runes engraved on the walls and ceiling. He immediately knew what kind of formation these are. Quite a few of them were killing formations, moreover extremely powerful, able to automatically identify the enemy's crazy attack. I'll give you a chance. As long as you stop, I can stop the killing array in the secret room. Otherwise, you'll die. Luo Shuang forced herself to calm down. She was really shocked that the person in front of her was so powerful that he could subdue her in an instant. It would be a piece of cake for someone who possessed such power to kill her. She had never expected such a terrifying figure to exist in the imperial city. At that instant, she truly believed that she was doomed. She believed that the person in front of her was sent by the Crown Prince of Zenith Luo to kill her. Your killing array is indeed very strong, but in my eyes it is nothing. Qin Yun said, I can kill you, but you are still very useful to me, so I will spare your life for now. Who are you? Luo Shuang had calmed down. She knew she wouldn't die for the time being. I am Qin Yun. Qin Yun said, I came to Imperial City to kill Crown Prince de Luo. Of course, I can also kill you. Luo Shuang, who had just calmed down, felt her mind go blank. The Shiman Jun in front of him was actually Qin Yun. Not long ago, Qin Yun had killed Crown Prince Hualing and the powerful Blue Fire King. Not long after that, he managed to sneak into De Luo Imperial City and even appeared in front of her. The Crown Prince of Daluo is very cunning. I can't find him. He might not even be in Daluo. I need you to help me find him. Qin Yun said, also, I previously said that my people were mistakenly captured by you. You have to release them. Luo Shuang stared at Qin Yun's eyes for a long time. She wanted to see through him, but she couldn't see anything. I promise you. Luo Shuang had no choice but to agree. If she did not agree, she would die. General Ice Sun and Azure Fire King were experts who were stronger than her. Qin Yun killed them effortlessly. Luo Shuang couldn't fight back against Qin Yun either. After that, Luo Shuang surrendered unconditionally and signed a soul contract with Qin Yun. Her heart was originally filled with resentment, but the soul contract prevented her from having any resentment. Let this man go. Qin Yun handed Little Five's portrait to Luo Shuang. Not long after, Luo Shuang's clone came to take the portrait. How did you break through the limits of the divine space realm? Luo Shuang asked. Not only her, but all the big shots in the Nine Sun Sacred Ground wanted to know as well. Comprehend? Qin Yun asked. Do you know where the Crown Prince of Great Luo is? I don't know, but I will help you find him. Luo Shuang was telling the truth to Qin Yun. How long will it take to make any progress? I have to kill him as soon as possible. Qin Yun said, I hope it can be completed before the ninth divine sun appears. Luo Shuang suddenly realized that the Crown Prince of Great Luo was not hiding from her but from Qin Yun. Crown Prince of Great Luo had long been afraid of Qin Yun, especially after General Ice Sun's death. Even if he fought, he would only send his avatar. It had to be said that the Crown Prince of Daluo was right to be cautious. Otherwise, he would not have survived until now. Crown Prince Hualing was a good example. I will do it as soon as possible. Luo Shuang asked, now that you have me under your control, do you want to use me to control the Daluo Empire? If you want to do that, you must first destroy the Celestial Emperor and the 4 kings and 9 generals. They are the greatest obstacle to my rule over the Daluo Empire. If they are all dead, do you think I still need to control the Daluo Empire? Qin Yun smiled. Luo Shuang, you and the Crown Prince of Great Luo have the same problem. In this aspect, neither of you can compare to Luo Shu. Luo Shuang gritted her teeth, somewhat indignant. What's the use of the Crown Prince and I? How can we not compare to Luo Shu? Both of you value the Daluo Empire too much. In my eyes, the Empire is nothing. Luo Shu saw through this a long time ago. She knows that I am the Order of the Divine Wilderness. Under my order, even becoming the Celestial Emperor of Great Luo is meaningless, Qin Yun said. Luo Shuang fell silent. She believed that although she had fallen into Qin Yun's hands, she was still the princess of the Daluo Empire. Now that she was valued by the Celestial Emperor, her father would definitely help her escape Qin Yun's control. Now that she heard Qin Yun say this, she realized that he did not care about the Daluo Empire at all. Empires and Taisha factions were not worth mentioning in his eyes. As his strength increased, his former enemies would become dead people, so he naturally did not care about them. You think that my strength is inferior to the celestial emperors of the 4 empires? Qin Yun asked. You are very strong now. You have surpassed the divine space realm, so you are definitely stronger than them. But the restriction won't last long. Once the restriction is lifted, we can quickly break through to the divine space realm. We are all people who have surpassed the divine space realm, so we will be able to cultivate very quickly. You won't be able to catch up to us. Luo Shuang said what she was thinking. The laws of this universe restrict us from reaching the beyond divine space realm. Even I cannot reach this realm. Qin Yun said. What? You haven't reached the beyond divine space realm? Luo Shuang's expression changed. If Qin Yun was also at the 9th level of the divine space realm, she would not be able to resist him at all. No, I have surpassed the divine space realm, but the realm I have reached is not the beyond divine space realm. It is a realm that I have comprehended. After I reach this realm, my power will no longer be taken back by the universe. I did not break through the restrictions of the universe's laws. Instead, I jumped out of it and will no longer be restricted. Luo Shuang had a look of shock. This was the dream of many experts. She had read in Wang Tiange's ancient books that in many universe epochs, there had been cases of cultivation regressing. Then, the restrictions would be lifted after a period of time. Pursuing the realm of not having one's power taken back and jumping out of the universe's laws was a realm that people had been pursuing for many years. I look forward to your cultivation no longer being restricted. When that time comes, I will know if my cultivation path is correct and if I am strong enough. Qin Yun said again. Luo Shuang did not discuss this matter with Qin Yun anymore. She only felt that it was a heavy blow. She did not ask how he cultivated because it was definitely a difficult path. If I know the whereabouts of the Crown Prince of Daluo, how can I contact you? Luo Shuang asked. I will stay at your Luo Tian Pavilion for a few days. Qin Yun said. If I can't find the Crown Prince of Daluo, then I will directly attack the Daluo Imperial Palace. I have to do something big this time. You have been hiding in the 9 Sun sacred ground and ignoring me, the godly monarch, for too long. You will be punished for leaving the godly monarch order for so long. Chapter 3297. When Luo Shuang heard Qin Yun's words, she could not help but recall that when the 4 empires and the Taisha factions came to the Divine Wilderness's 9 Sun sacred land, they had discussed Qin Yun as a godly monarch. At that time, Qin Yun was still outside the 9 Sun sacred land. In the eyes of these major factions, Qin Yun posed no threat to them. At most, he could stir up trouble outside the sacred land. If Qin Yun were to enter the sacred land, they would definitely be able to eliminate this godly monarch by joining forces. They were very sure that the godly monarch's order would never cover the 9 Sun sacred ground. Moreover, they still had to work together to break the godly monarch's order so that they could jointly control the order of the divine wilderness. It hasn't been long, but Qin Yun's strength is so powerful that he can barge into the empire's imperial city alone. Qin Yun, you are indeed very powerful now, but you are still unable to completely control the entire 9 Sun sacred ground. I advise you to keep a low profile and wait until you're strong enough before making a move. Luo Shuang was also afraid that Qin Yun would cause trouble in the imperial city. If that happened, the entire Daluo Empire would know that she, Luo Shuang, had been subdued by Qin Yun and she would be finished. Qin Yun took out a huge square-shaped crystal that was as tall as 2 people. Think of a way to place this into the magic mirror's array foundation. Make sure no one knows about it. What are you doing? Destroy the array base of the magic mirror? Luo Shuang frowned and said, the four empires and many grand prime organizations are protecting the demonic mirror formation together. Even I struggle to get in. Qin Yun had long gotten his disciple, Wu Xiaoding, to form a team to research how to crack the Empire's magic mirror array foundation. They had made great progress, and the last step was very important, which was to put something into the magic mirror array base. Only then would they be able to break through the last line of defense, invade the magic mirror array base, and secretly control it. If you know me well enough, you should know that I was the one who first created the magic mirror, and then you guys destroyed it. I wasn't strong enough back then, so you guys bullied me with your strength. Qin Yun said, I want to take back what belongs to me. The magic mirror was very important. It could release a lot of information, communicate quickly, and so on. Now that it was under the control of the Empire, it was equivalent to them controlling the right to spread the news. You want to take back the magic mirror array foundation? How could they take it back? The Devil Mirror's base is huge, and it's right inside our Celestial Emperor Palace. Luo Shuang felt that Qin Yun was daydreaming. Can you put this thing into the base of the magic mirror? Qin Yun asked. It's not that I don't want to help you, but I can't do it. Luo Shuang shook her head. If I'm discovered, even with my current position, I will be severely punished. Luo Shuang knew the defense of the magic mirror's formation base. She was sure that she couldn't do it. Bring me into the underground palace, close to where the magic mirror's array base is. Is that all right? Qin Yun said, as long as I enter, I can do it. That's not difficult. But you must promise me that you won't mess around in the Imperial Palace. Luo Shuang was very worried that Qin Yun would cause a huge commotion in Origin Luo Emperor Palace. Alright. My main goal this time is to kill the Crown Prince of Daluo. If I do something big in the Imperial Palace, he will definitely be more afraid of me. Qin Yun was truly afraid that he could not kill the Crown Prince of Zenith Luo. Luo Shuang understood that Qin Yun would cause trouble in the Imperial Palace sooner or later, but not now. Now? Luo Shuang asked. Now. Qin Yun took out a mirror to look at himself and asked, Do I still need to disguise myself? He had already disguised himself before coming here, so Luo Shuang couldn't recognize him at all. No need. You're fine like this. If I couldn't recognize you just now, no one else will be able to either. Luo Shuang nodded. Qin Yun followed Luo Shuang into a small flying ship and flew to the entrance of Origin Luo Emperor Palace. They were only allowed to enter after going through all sorts of checks. Luo Shuang was a princess, so it wasn't a problem for her to bring someone in. Everyone knew that she was recruiting, so it was normal for her to bring new faces into the Imperial Palace from time to time. After entering, Luo Shuang first went to her residence in a cave in a small mountain forest to the west of the Imperial Palace. You must listen to me in the Imperial Palace. I don't want to alarm the 4 kings and 9 generals. Those old fogies might have a good impression of me, but they still don't recognize me, Luo Shuang said. She was really worried that her future would be ruined by Qin Yun's hands. Although she knew that empires and Taisha factions were nothing in Qin Yun's eyes, they were very important to her. Qin Yun said, I can't wait too long. By the way, is there any progress with the Crown Prince of Daluo? No. I've been looking for the Crown Prince all this time. With my current status, I can't find him even with the resources I can mobilize. It's clear that he's hiding very well. Luo Shuang said, unless Father summons him, his real body won't show up easily. Luo Shuang was on the verge of a mental breakdown. Previously, she had been complaining that she wasn't afraid of Qin Yun and that it was only a matter of time before she took him down. But in less than 2 days, she was taken down by Qin Yun. Qin Yun, if you take back the demon mirror now, the Crown Prince will be suspicious. Aren't you afraid of alarming him? Luo Shuang asked. If I take back the demon mirror, No one will notice. Qin Yun smiled. Don't forget that I was the one who created the Demon Mirrors Array Foundation. I know this thing like the back of my hand. Although you have existed for many years and were once the strongest in this universe, in the God's wilderness, I am the boss. The Crown Prince of Daluo is different from Crown Prince Huoling. The Crown Prince of Daluo has the Hall of Supreme behind him. I suspect that he's hiding there now. Luo Shuang said. The Hall of Supreme is also a Grand Prime faction and its overall strength isn't weak. It won't be easy to kill him. As long as I know where he is, I can kill him. Qin Yun was completely fearless. If I can confirm that he's in the Hall of Supreme, I'll flatten the entire Hall of Supreme. Luo Shuang was somewhat speechless. Flatten the entire Hall of Supreme? The Daluo Empire was powerful enough, but it still didn't have that kind of strength. The Hall of Supreme is a Grand Prime faction after all. It has a deep heritage over the years. It won't be that easy to destroy. Luo Shuang added. Luo Shuang looked at the sky outside the window. It would be daybreak soon. We can take action now, but we have to be fast. Luo Shuang took out a map and spread it on the table. Lead the way. You'll come with me, Qin Yun said. Are you mad? I can't be exposed. Luo Shuang was a little angry. Let's go. Qin Yun grabbed her and walked out of the cave. Luo Shuang had no choice but to bring Qin Yun along, who asked her to fall into Qin Yun's hands like a little chick. After leaving, Qin Yun made himself and Luo Shuang invisible and used the penetration divine art to quickly head for the magic mirror array base. It was a huge lake and the magic mirror array base was under the lake. When they got close, Qin Yun suddenly stopped and sent a voice transmission to Luo Shuang. Is the Daluo Celestial Emperor in the palace? How would I know? Father, his whereabouts are very mysterious. No one knows where he is. Luo Shuang asked in return. Why do you ask? Are you going to do something big? There's a very powerful guy under the lake up ahead. Qin Yun said solemnly. If it's not the Daluo Celestial Emperor, who could it be? It shouldn't be my father. My father spends most of his time in seclusion. It might be someone else. Luo Shuang was also very puzzled. Chapter 3298. Luo Shuang couldn't be sure either. Her father always appeared and disappeared without a trace. No one could track him down. In fact, the big shots of the Taisha forces and the four empires were always elusive. It was very difficult to find them, just like the Crown Prince of Daluo. Luo Shuang always looked down on the Crown Prince, saying that he was not a big shot, but he always made himself mysterious. If it's not your father, then who do you think it is? Daluo Empire has such a powerful figure. Qin Yun didn't continue forward. As he approached the lake, he felt a very strong mental power. Could it be one of the 4 kings and 9 generals? Luo Shuang was also very confused. In Daluo Empire, besides my father, the strongest are the 4 kings and 9 generals. The strength of the 4 kings is above the 9 generals. They might even be much stronger. Originally, it was the 4 kings and 10 generals. You killed General Bingyang. How strong are the 4 kings of Daluo Empire compared to Blue Fire King of Huoling Empire? Qin Yun asked. Trash like Blue Fire King is not as strong as the aura I feel now. Luo Shuang was speechless. If Blue Fire King was trash in Qin Yun's eyes, then what was she? Worse than trash? That was true. Blue Fire King was killed by Qin Yun in an instant. If she didn't have some use, Qin Yun would have broken her head with a kick. She was so insignificant in the face of great power. She was the high and mighty Princess Luo Shuang and the 9 Heavens Goddess, but she was nothing in front of Qin Yun. Then should we still go to the Magic Mirror Array Base? It seems that this array base is really important for such an expert to guard it. Luo Shuang said, let's not go. If you are discovered, even if you are not afraid of him, you will still cause a big commotion if you fight. Qin Yun took out an invisibility talisman and gave it to Luo Shuang. Use this talisman and wait for me in your cave. I will go alone. Even if I make a big commotion, they won't suspect you. Okay. Luo Shuang couldn't wait to leave. She didn't want to go crazy with Qin Yun. After all, she didn't have that kind of strength. After using the invisibility talisman, Luo Shuang slipped away immediately. She's so afraid even in her own large palace. She even called the crown prince of Great Luo a coward. I think she's the same. Although Qin Yun sensed a very powerful aura coming from the Magic Mirror Array Foundation, he is not afraid at all. The reason he suspected it was the Celestial Emperor of Deluo was that his aura was far stronger than that of the Blue Fire King. Qin Yun took out the Divine Mirror of Grand Beginning and got Brother Grand Beginning to sense it. Brother Taisher, there's a powerful guy here. I don't want to alarm him. Qin Yun said, after I stepped into the primordial realm, my mental strength did not increase by much. As for that fellow, his mental strength is extremely powerful. I cannot be sensed by him. Experts like the exalted celestial emperors possessed formidable mental strength. Even after their cultivation had regressed, their mental strength hadn't decreased much. If Qin Yun were to compete with them in mental power, he would not lose. However, it would be difficult for him to not be discovered by them. Use the word heavenly pattern, hide. Brother Taisher said, use the word hide on your head, chest and back. That way, you won't be detected for a short period of time. Qin Yun immediately began. He took out the Divine King Heavenly Seal and imprinted a heavenly pattern on his chest and back, then another one on his head. Finally, he activated the heavenly pattern and entered the lake. On the surface, this lake looked very big. However, after entering the lake, it was like a vast ocean. The Magic Mirror Array Foundation is a very powerful and profound spatial formation. After entering the lake, it is like entering a vast space. Although Qin Yun is somewhat surprised, he feels that it is normal. However, as he continued diving, he discovered that the lake is not as simple as the Magic Mirror Array Foundation. The Magic Mirror Array Foundation is very important, but it is not that important. There are more and more barriers at the bottom of the lake. It can be said that there are layers upon layers of barriers. There are also many net formations similar to the one used by the inscription Fungus Mother. There are many such net formations. Every few meters Qin Yun dived, there would be a layer. Apart from that, there are also invisible barriers. He only dived 100 meters and there are more than 100 barriers. Is this place really only for the Magic Mirror Array Foundation? This kind of defense is too exaggerated. After Qin Yun came down, it was not smooth at all. It took him more than 20 hours to dive down 100 meters. If he carelessly passed through the barrier, he would cause a great commotion and be detected that someone had entered the lake. With the tightness of the barrier at the bottom of the lake, even if a small fish swam, it would trigger the barrier. Of course, the small fish might also die. Qin Yun discovered that not only are there defensive barriers, there are also many counterattack killing formations. Even if Blue Fire King and General Ice Sun came in, they might die here. There is no need for anyone to do anything. The lake is very deep, at least 10,000 feet. Qin Yun estimated. With his current speed, it will take a very long time to reach the bottom. He has no other choice but to brace himself and go down. If not for the fact that he wanted to proceed stealthily and not be afraid of any commotion, he would not be afraid of the barriers and killing formations here. He would be able to reach his destination even faster. After diving for more than 2 days, Qin Yun saw a very large white ball. It is several tens of thousands of meters wide, and it is floating in the depths of the lake. It is not at the bottom. The Magic Mirror's formation base should be inside. That's where the expert's aura came from. Qin Yun immediately confirmed. After approaching the white ball, he immediately sensed that there are many more such balls at the bottom of the lake. However, they are all relatively small and formed a barrier at the bottom of the lake. This lake wasn't man-made, but formed naturally. The space at the bottom of the lake is also naturally formed. This is a very wondrous treasure land. No wonder the imperial palace was built here. Qin Yun discovered many interesting things. Even the white balls are naturally formed and have a space inside, similar to the divine sun's core. This might be an earth-water-moon. Something born in the underground water is similar to the divine sun and divine moon, old brother Taisher said. Could the celestial emperor of origin really be here? No matter how I look at it, this is the core of this treasure land. There might even be Taisher Nirvana City. Qin Yun said. It's very likely. You must be careful. Old brother Taisher said. In terms of physical strength, the celestial emperor is not your match. But in terms of soul and mental power, it's hard to say. Furthermore, this is his home ground. Qin Yun did not plan on fighting the celestial emperor head-on. After all, he knows his own weaknesses. In terms of soul and mental power, he does not have an advantage. Mobile users, please visit Chapter 3299. If Qin Yun did not enter the lake, he would not know the secret of Great Luo Emperor City. Perhaps even Luo Shuang and the Crown Prince of Great Luo Heavenly Emperor's sons and daughters have never been to this place. Luo Shuang only knows that the Magic Mirrors Foundation is here, but she doesn't know that there is a huge water moon at the bottom of the lake. Qin Yun originally thought that it would take several days to reach the bottom. Now that he saw this huge water moon, it means that the Magic Mirrors Foundation is most likely here. There is no need to go to the bottom. However, the inside of the water moon is even more dangerous. After all, it is the core of the Emperor City. Great Luo Heavenly Emperor and other experts of the Empire might be inside. Qin Yun gradually approached the water moon. Although he spent a lot of time to break through the barriers, it was still very smooth. The fact that he could smoothly reach here means that he was not discovered. The effect of the heavenly rune's invisibility is very good. Very soon, Qin Yun arrived beside the water moon. He didn't dare to touch it but carefully observed it to see if there is any barrier. Don't touch it directly. No matter what method you use to enter the water moon, you will be discovered. Old brother Taisher suddenly said, there must be other entrances. Finding an entrance is the safest. Qin Yun is now completely invisible, no one can discover him. So he can look for an entrance without worry. This water moon is very big, finding an entrance is not easy. However, according to old brother Taisher's estimation, the entrance should be at the top or bottom of the water moon. Qin Yun searched around the top area but didn't find it. Then he arrived at the bottom area and saw a formation. There are many formation pillars around this formation. It is a relatively large formation. Could it be a teleportation formation? This is troublesome. Qin Yun gradually approached the formation and confirmed that it is indeed a teleportation formation. There is no entrance to the core of the water moon. The only entrance is this teleportation formation. Qin Yun can't open the teleportation formation, but once it is opened, it will definitely cause a big commotion and alarm the experts inside. If I want to enter quietly, I can only ask Little Ant Queen for help. Qin Yun will not let Little Ant Queen go unless it is absolutely necessary. Little Ant Queen is the Queen of Space Xian Ant. She has cultivated inside the Nine Sun Divine Soul for many years. Although her battle power is not strong, her ability is getting stronger and stronger. After that, Qin Yun began to discuss with the Little Queen Ant and Zi Qingqing how to enter the water moon. After some discussion, they decided to let Malur and the Little Ant Queen move together. But first, they had to use the God King Heavenly Seal to imprint a heavenly rune on their bodies. After that, they would not be discovered when they came out. Originally, Qin Yun did not want to let Maluru come out, but Little Queen Ant said that she and Maluru are cooperating very well now, and also needs the help of Malur's powerful mental power to accurately locate the target. Malur was a very special existence. Her spiritual force was abnormally strong, and it could erupt many times. This kind of ability was very terrifying, which meant that her soul must have undergone a mutation. She was a special human. Little Queen Ant first quietly entered the dark space, then quickly moved Qin Yun and Malur into it. With the protection of the Little Queen Ant's power, Qin Yun and Malur would not be harmed in the dark space. Then, Malur released her spiritual force. Under the push of the Little Ant Queen, her spiritual force was guided to the outside space to determine whether it was inside the water moon or not. She also needed to sense whether there were other people nearby. Malur's current control over her spiritual force is very fine. She cannot be discovered by others. "I found a good place, brother, let's start," Malur said in a low voice. "All right." Qin Yun nodded, then tightly held Malur's small hand. "Little Queen Ant, we can start," Malur shouted. The cute Little Queen Ant has already stood on Malur's shoulder and began to move. In just a blink of an eye, they appeared on the branch of a giant tree. After entering the water moon, Qin Yun immediately let the Little Queen Ant and Malur enter the Nine Sun Divine Soul. Otherwise, if something unexpected happens, they will be easily injured. Qin Yun is still invisible. He stood on the branch of the giant tree and quietly sensed his surroundings. After confirming that he was not discovered, he began to move and gently landed on the ground. After he left the giant tree, he looked up at the sky and saw a vast expanse of white soft light shining down. Inside the water moon is a large forest. There are also mountains and rivers, just like a beautiful small world. "Brother, you are on a small floating island. This forest is at the edge of the island and there are many houses in the middle of the island." Malur told Qin Yun about her previous discovery inside the Nine Sun Divine Soul. Qin Yun was secretly shocked. Malur actually observed all these in such a short time. He walked in the direction that Malur had pointed, and it did not take long for him to see a large building complex. It was a huge city. Seeing this city, Qin Yun immediately confirmed that this is a Taisher Nirvana city. The Magic Mirror Formation Foundation is inside because he already sensed a burst of spatial fluctuations. It is emitted by the Magic Mirror Formation Foundation. That aura is still here. Could it be that this Deluo Heavenly Emperor is cultivating and breaking through? He can actually emit such a powerful aura at all times. Qin Yun sensed that the aura is becoming more and more obvious. He is sure that it is emitted by Deluo Heavenly Emperor. When he killed General Bingyang, Deluo Heavenly Emperor's voice was transmitted to him. At that time, it also carried an imposing aura, so he can feel it now. There are not many people in Taisher Nirvana City. After Qin Yun quietly entered the city, it is empty. This Deluo Heavenly Emperor is eating alone. He does not let too many people enter Taisher Nirvana City. He is enjoying himself. Qin Yun secretly despised. Not long after, he saw the Magic Mirror Formation Foundation. It is set up by many formation pillars and huge formation beads. There is no one guarding it. I wonder if this Taisher Nirvana City is shared by a few empires? Qin Yun discovered that there is a teleportation formation here. He suspected that it can be teleported to the Taisher Nirvana City controlled by other empires. What puzzled him is that Taisher Nirvana City usually only exists outside the Holy Land. Why does it exist inside the Holy Land? He carefully placed the square crystal into the center of the Magic Mirror Formation Foundation. At the moment it is shining with a strong light. It is very difficult to detect if a transparent crystal is placed there. As long as the Magic Mirror Formation Foundation is stable, it will not be stopped to check. The crystal placed in is not to destroy the Magic Mirror Formation Foundation, but to secretly invade the Magic Mirror Formation Foundation. Gradually, the Magic Mirror Formation Foundation is connected to the Magic Mirror Formation Foundation, all transferred into the 4 Divine Suns, under the control of An Wukong and the God of Space. This plan was led by Wu Xiaoding. The alien race and the god of space led a group of people to participate in the research. If it succeeds, the operation of the magic mirror in the divine desolate heavens will be controlled by the myriad realms' divine court. Mobile users, please visit Chapter 3300. After Qin Yun succeeded, he immediately left the magic mirror array base. When he returned, he would let Wu Xiaoding and the others gradually move over and let all the magic mirrors connect to the magic mirror array base of the four divine suns. This way, the magic mirror array base of the Great Luo Empire would lose its effectiveness. If they wanted to rearrange it, they would have to let everyone replace the magic mirrors, and the cost of the magic mirrors was not low. In addition, even if they rearranged the magic mirror array base to develop new magic mirrors, Wu Xiaoding and the others had a way to make it impossible for those magic mirrors to connect to the magic mirror array base of the Great Luo Empire. They could also invade their magic mirror array base to interfere. When Qin Yun left this water moon, he had to be careful. He also needed Malheur and Mo to come out and help, otherwise he would not be able to leave quietly. Moreover, it was even more difficult to leave than to enter. It was unknown why, but it was mainly because after the little ant queen brought Qin Yun and Malheur into the dark space, they could no longer sense the outside space. It took a long time for Malheur to sense the outside space, and she came directly to the side of the lake. This way, Qin Yun did not need to swim up from the bottom of the lake. It took Qin Yun 3 days to come out. In order to enter the base of the magic mirror array, he had spent several days in total. After coming out, he immediately went to Luo Shuang's cave. After entering the cave, Luo Shuang's original body was not here, but a very weak clone. Why was it a weak clone? Because this clone was much shorter and not very strong. It was a shrunken version of a cheap good. Luo Shuang's original body was not here. She left a clone to pass on a message to Qin Yun. You entered the magic mirror array base? Luo Shuang asked. Yes, your father is under that lake. I really didn't expect that there would be so many secrets hidden in this underground palace. Qin Yun said. What secret? Luo Shuang was very curious. She seemed to know that the imperial palace was not simple, but she could not investigate it clearly. After Qin Yun sat down, he carefully described everything he saw under the lake. There was a very large water moon and many small water moons, and inside the large water moon, there was also a Taisher Nirvana city. After Luo Shuang heard this, she was very shocked. Looks like father is cultivating inside, and he has made great progress. I wonder if he can break through the restrictions and return to the divine space realm. Luo Shuang was looking forward to it. I don't think your father is the only one who enjoys that place. I feel like I'm no longer in Origin's celestial palace after entering the lake. It's like I've entered another space. The lake is only an entrance, and it's also absorbing energy from the Origin Luo palace. It's also possible that the bottom of the lake in the Dharch Palace is very special and is connected to some special space. When I entered the water moon, I could clearly feel that there are other teleportation arrays connected to it. Maybe the other empires can also enter the water moon, said Qin Yun. I knew there was a secret under the lake, but I didn't know what it was like. The pavilion master of the Imperial Heaven Pavilion might know, but he didn't tell me. Luo Shuang was a little resentful because she was the Jiutian goddess. Over the years, she had given Wang Tiangu many inheritances of the universe's law spirits. However, the pavilion master of Wang Tiangu didn't treat her as one of his own. Qin Yun spread his hands and said, You are just a tool in their eyes. Don't think too highly of yourself. Luo Shuang was furious. She had always thought that Wang Tiangu valued her. Actually, the Crown Prince of Zenith Luo is just a tool in the eyes of the Hall of Supremacy. Without sufficient strength, who would take you seriously? Even if they do, it's just to squeeze out whatever value you have left. Qin Yun crossed his legs and said with a smile, Luo Shuang, your true body isn't here. Did you discover the Crown Prince of Daluo, and went out to look for him personally? I do have some clues. The Crown Prince of Daluo is not in the Dharch city, said Luo Shuang. Sigh, what a pity. Qin Yun sighed. What's a pity? Isn't that good? The Crown Prince of Daluo is outside. It'll be even easier to kill him. Luo Shuang was very puzzled. The Crown Prince of Daluo is in the Dharch city. I'll cause a huge commotion to shake the entire city, and then inform everyone that I, Qin Yun, have killed the Crown Prince of Daluo in the Dharch city. Only then will it cause a huge commotion. There's no point in killing him in a remote place. Qin Yun curled his lips. It would be easy for him to kill the Crown Prince of Daluo. If he did it in the Dharch city, the effect would be completely different. Then you can capture him from outside and kill him. Luo Shuang was convinced by Qin Yun. At the same time, she mourned for the Crown Prince of Daluo for a few seconds. All right, bring me to capture the Crown Prince of Daluo. Once I capture him, I'll bring him outside the Dharch city and nail him to death on the city gate. Qin Yun said, when the time comes, I'll use the magic mirror to broadcast it publicly. I'll let everyone in the divine wilderness know the consequences of offending me. There's a huge mountain, about half a day's journey from the Dharch city. The mountain is the size of a city, and it's shaped like a tomb. That's why it's called the Heavenly Cemetery Mountain. Luo Shuang said, this mountain is very mysterious. It's not naturally formed. The Crown Prince of Daluo might be near the Heavenly Cemetery Mountain. What's going on with the Heavenly Cemetery Mountain? Qin Yun immediately thought of Taisher Nirvana City. I've obtained confidential information from Wang Tian Pavilion. There's a Dharma spirit sealed in the Heavenly Cemetery Mountain. Luo Shuang whispered, this Dharma spirit is very powerful. It's said that it has cultivated a body. Qin Yun's pupils constricted. A Dharma spirit that cultivated a body was not ordinary. Ling Yun was only a spiritual body. She was not considered a Dharma spirit. Even if she was a Dharma spirit, her current body was created by Qin Yun. In the truest sense, the body of a Dharma spirit was a body that completely transcended the universe. Do you know what kind of Dharma spirit it is? Qin Yun asked. He had suspected that it might be a nine-yang Dharma spirit, because he already knew that there was a problem when the nine-yang Dharma spirit transformed into a human. I heard that it's an ancient super-divine sun Dharma spirit. As for why it fell into the divine wilderness, it might be arranged by the nine-yang Dharma spirit or the universe's Dharma spirit. Luo Shuang said, actually, divine sun Dharma spirits are not allowed to cultivate a body. Once discovered, the universe's Dharma spirit will destroy it. Luo Shuang, have you heard of the divine sun-blood seed? Qin Yun asked because he heard Luo Shuang mention the Dharma spirit body. Luo Shuang was also a nine heavens goddess. Although she had been a goddess for several generations, she still had some inheritance. Why are you asking this? Luo Shuang's voice suddenly turned serious. This seemed to be a taboo question for her. Did Phoenix tell you? No, she shouldn't know. Could it be Tian Shiro and Tian Shixiang? No, they don't have their inherited memories. They shouldn't know. Then it can only be Xian Qingning. What's your relationship with her? Qin Yun was somewhat surprised. Luo Shuang actually thought of so many things in such a short time. Chapter 3301. Did Xian Qingning tell you? That is the most important thing in our inherited memories. Luo Shuang looked at Qin Yun with a serious expression. She believes that Phoenix Queen, Xie Qiru and Yu Shangyun are all nine heavens goddesses, but they don't know about the divine sun blood seed. Only she and Xian Qingning have inherited memories in this aspect. She and Xian Qingning have grand primes behind them. They have been providing bits and pieces of inherited memories to these grand primes from time to time. After all, those are the inheritances of universe law spirits. They are very precious. They won't say it all at once, they will say it bit by bit. Because once they say it all, they won't have any value and they won't be able to protect their status in the Grand Primes. Therefore, they very tacitly said that their inherited memories were awakened bit by bit and they lost a lot of them. Because of this, they are very important in the eyes of Grand Primes and empires. They have obtained very high status and all kinds of good treatment. Crown Prince de Luo often complains that Supreme Palace doesn't support him enough. They don't support Luo Shuang like Wang Tiange. What he doesn't know is that Luo Shuang is very important to Wang Tiange. It wasn't Xian Qingning who told me. Qin Yun waved his hand and said, I have enmity with her. When she attacked my treasure land, I fired a few cannons at her. She definitely still remembers. I thought you would control her like you control me. Luo Shuang coldly groaned. She is naturally very unhappy about being controlled by Qin Yun, but there is nothing she can do. That's right. She is 9 Heavens goddess, she is very valuable. I should control her. Qin Yun said with smile. Princess Luo Shuang, you should help me right. Don't worry, I will do my best to help you capture Xian Qingning. Luo Shuang's heart is suddenly filled with anticipation because she feels that she can't suffer alone. It would be best to pull Xian Qingning along, this will make her feel more comfortable. Then can you tell me about the divine Sunblood seed? Qin Yun's understanding of the divine Sunblood seed came from the Phoenix old ancestor. Can you tell me how you know about it? It must be 9 Heavens goddess who told you because only 9 Heavens goddess knows about it. Luo Shuang is very puzzled. A 9 Heavens goddess told me. Qin Yun said, as for who, I can't tell you. The godly Sunblood seed can only be nurtured within the super godly Sunday. Generally speaking, it is easier to be nurtured within the super Xie Sun and Devil Sunday. As for why, I have no idea. It is very difficult for the Nether Sun to be born. As for the other super divine suns, it will depend on luck. I don't know what this divine Sunblood seed is for. I only know how to find it. The law spirit of the universe values the godly Sunblood seed very much. He said that this thing is very important and concerns the life and death of the entire universe. Luo Shuang said, you don't know what use it has? Qin Yun remembered that the Phoenix ancestor had said that when she was injected with the divine Sunblood seed liquid, there was also another 9 Heavens goddess who participated. Luo Shuang might have a more detailed understanding of this matter. I don't know. Maybe I once knew, but that part of my memory has been erased. Luo Shuang shook her head. The other Jiutian goddesses are probably the same as me. They don't know what to do with it. They only know how to find it because our first-generation goddesses participated in the search for the divine Sunblood seed. The Phoenix ancestor had also mentioned this matter. The law spirit of the universe had indeed asked the 9 Heavens goddesses to go out and search for the divine Sunblood seed. It seemed that the divine Sunblood seed's use was very important, so the law spirit of the universe strictly controlled this information. Even the 9 Heavens goddesses were not allowed to know about it. However, he had neglected the Phoenix ancestor, the 9 Heavens goddess. After all, she was the only one who tested the divine Sunblood seed liquid. The law spirit of the universe thought that she would be completely finished and her soul would be completely torn apart. When are we leaving the heavenly grave mountain? Luo Shuang asked. We can leave immediately, but I have to make arrangements for the people here. Qin Yun said, right, the imperial city is very strict now. Can you take me out? Of course, that's not a problem. I've already released Xiao Wu, who you asked me to release. Luo Shuang said, previously, a large number of nobles were killed outside the city. Moreover, the barbarians caused a huge commotion. It was your doing, right? She suspected that Qin Yun had snuck in at that time. Has the situation outside the city calmed down? Qin Yun asked. It has temporarily calmed down. Regarding this matter, the barbarians are very angry. They think that our great Luo Emperor city killed their people first, so they are preparing to gather an army and come to the city to make our great Luo Empire apologize. Luo Shuang spread her hands and said, "This matter has nothing to do with me. If there is a headache, it should be the 4 kings and 9 generals or the crown prince of Great Luo." Qin Yun said, "The 4 kings and 9 generals and the crown prince of Great Luo should be busy with the matters of the heavenly grave mountain. Let's set off now." Qin Yun seemed to be bringing Luo Shuang to find Luo Ye. He wanted to bring Luo Ye out and let her return safely to Luo Shu's side. When Luo Ye saw Luo Shuang's original body, she was very surprised. She had been very worried about how Qin Yun would save Xiao Wu. When she saw Xiao Wu return, she felt very strange. Because Qin Yun did not save her, she was released. She was also wondering how Qin Yun did it. However, after a few days, Qin Yun returned and even brought Luo Shuang back. Luo Ye could see the displeasure on Luo Shuang's face. She could see that she was very unwilling to follow Qin Yun, but there was nothing she could do. Luo Ye did not ask anything and just followed Qin Yun into Luo Shuang's small flying boat. Then, they flew out of the great Luo Emperor city together. After leaving, Qin Yun told Luo Ye to go back by herself. Then, he followed Luo Shuang to the heavenly grave mountain not far from the great Luo Emperor city. Half a day later, Qin Yun saw a huge mountain that looked like a tomb on the ground in front of him. What a powerful great formation! Qin Yun immediately saw it from the sky and said in surprise, "Could this great formation be set up by the universe law spirit? What great formation?" Luo Shuang could not see anything. There are at least 10 great formations sealing the heavenly grave mountain. Qin Yun said, "The area covered is very large. Don't continue flying lest you enter the great formation." Luo Shuang immediately stopped and tried her best to observe the ground below. Other than a huge mountain, she could not see anything else. Not long after the small flying boat stopped, the heavenly grave mountain suddenly trembled. Then, the ground trembled slightly. What happened? Luo Shuang was somewhat afraid because a terrifying aura erupted from the ground. Someone triggered the great formation. Quickly get away. Qin Yun was not afraid at all. This heavenly grave mountain filled his heart with curiosity. It was even more mysterious than he had imagined. If there was really a humanoid divine sun law spirit sealed inside the heavenly grave mountain, once it escaped, it would definitely be a terrifying existence. Chapter 3302. Luo Shuang was scared to death. In her opinion, if Qin Yun thought it was dangerous, it must be very dangerous. If something suddenly happened, Luo Shuang would not be able to stop it. "What's wrong?" Luo Shuang asked hurriedly. "I'm not sure yet. In short, the surroundings of this sky cemetery mountain are not safe." Qin Yun shook his head. "Keep moving away. Strange, your father should still be in the Luo Imperial Palace. He did not participate in this. Could it be that the expert under the lake in the underground palace is not my father but someone else?" Luo Shuang also felt that her father would come to Sky Cemetery Mountain. With such a huge commotion in Sky Cemetery Mountain, it was impossible for the Empire to not know about the Celestial Dharch. It might be his avatar. Qin Yun said, "It's not surprising that an avatar is not weaker than the main body. If the avatar is strong enough, if the main body is in danger, as long as the soul can escape and return to the avatar, it is equivalent to not dying." Luo Shuang also had clones, and she had quite a few of them. She had been cultivating these powerful clones in secret, so she knew about them well. The commotion in Sky Cemetery Mountain continued. Qin Yun and Luo Shuang waited from day to night. The ground below them continued to tremble. The huge Sky Cemetery Mountain would shake violently from time to time. If it were an ordinary mountain, such violent shaking would definitely crack and collapse. The surrounding ground would also be torn apart or undulate due to the violent earthquake. However, There were no changes to the Sky Cemetery Mountain and the ground after the violent shaking. This was very strange. Is the ground in the Nine Suns sacred ground so strong? Such a huge commotion did not cause the ground to change shape. Qin Yun looked down from Luo Shuang's small flying boat. The ground below was very flat, and one could clearly see if there were any changes. At night, Sky Cemetery Mountain was also emitting a hazy white light. Is the divine Yang Dharma spirit sealed in Sky Cemetery Mountain about to break free? Luo Shuang said. A divine Yang Dharma spirit that cultivated a body should be very strong, right? Has its cultivation also surpassed the divine space realm? Qin Yun's cultivation had already surpassed the divine universe realm. At this moment, he was very certain that the divine Yang Dharma spirit sealed in the Heaven Cemetery Mountain was most likely the same as him, having already returned to its original form. Crown Prince de Luo and company should be here, right? Qin Yun looked at the distant points of light and said, "There are some large battleships over there." Luo Shuang took out the demon mirror to contact her subordinates to see if there were people or battleships from the Supreme Hall nearby. Although Qin Yun had inserted a crystal into the Magic Mirror Array Foundation, the entire Magic Mirror Array Foundation was still the same as before. However, An Wukong and Wu Xiaoding were secretly transferring control over it. Once the transfer was complete, they would cut off the connection between all the mirrors and the De Luo Empire's mirrors. This way, all the mirrors would be connected to the four god suns. The four god suns could illuminate the divine desolate heavens. Together with the new powerful Magic Mirror Array Foundation, the effect would be better than before. Moreover, it would be very difficult for others to interfere. Qin Yun plans to get the Divine Moon Clan's help to place a Devil Mirror Formation Foundation in the Divine Moon of the heavens. This way, it will be able to operate well at night. Through the magic mirror, Luo Shuang quickly understood the situation around her. She said to Qin Yun, "The Hall of Supremacy, Great Profundity Planet, Imperial Heaven Pavilion, and many grand prime factions are here. The celestial thearchs of the four empires are also here. Furthermore, the mysterious Island Lord of Nine Heavens Island has also appeared." Qin Yun had long heard of Nine Heavens Island. The De Luo Cosmos had three grand prime factions, the Imperial Heaven Pavilion, the Hall of Supremacy, and the mysterious Nine Heavens Island. Among them, the Imperial Heaven Pavilion and the Hall of Supremacy had close ties with the De Luo Empire. Although Nine Heavens Island had a good relationship with the De Luo Empire, Luo Shu had previously said that Nine Heavens Island was very mysterious. She rarely saw people from Nine Heavens Island interact with people from the empires. Luo Shu said that she rarely sees people from Nine Heavens Island. "Have you seen them before?" asked Qin Yun. "I rarely see them either. I've lived for so many years, but I really haven't seen many people from Nine Heavens Island. The only one I've seen is the Nine Heavens Island Lord. In fact, this Island Lord used to come to our Imperial City often," said Luo Shuang. In the past, De Luo Imperial City was a very prosperous place in the cosmos. It wasn't like the Nine Suns Sacred Land. Since the celestial thearchs of the four empires are here, the expert under the lake should be the De Luo Celestial Thearcha's avatar or his true body, said Qin Yun. Late at night, the abnormal Sky Cemetery Mountain was glowing brighter and brighter. From above, it looked like a huge gemstone had landed on the ground. Although Luo Shuang was very curious about the situation in Sky Cemetery Mountain, her main mission now was to find the De Luo Crown Prince. Qin Yun guessed that there was nothing good in Sky Cemetery Mountain, only a dangerous and powerful divine Yang Dharma spirit. Once this fellow came out, it might even pose a threat to him. If it was a dangerous and evil Dharma spirit, it would not be a good thing for the divine wilderness. There's news of the De Luo Crown Prince. It's very likely that he's on one of the Hall of Supremacy's battleships. Should we go over? Asked Luo Shuang. Let's go. Don't drive the tiny flying boat over. You'll be discovered. Qin Yun had used several invisibility talismans to turn the tiny flying boat invisible. After Luo Shuang and Qin Yun left, she put away the tiny flying boat and flew to the Hall of Supremacy's battleship with Qin Yun. What is the Deluo Crown Prince's true body doing here? This fellow has always been very cautious. Now that he has the guts to send his true body here, he must have a motive, said Qin Yun. I asked the pavilion master of Wang Tiange, but he didn't say anything. He only said that the matter of Sky Cemetery Mountain was very important and that they would take care of it. He told me not to worry. Luo Shuang held the magic mirror and was somewhat displeased. The Hall of Supremacy did not hide the Deluo Crown Prince, but Wang Tiange hid it from her. One had to know that she had a very high status in Wang Tiange. Over the years, she had imparted many universe Dharma spirit inheritances to Wang Tiange. Perhaps because you are the Nine Heavens goddess, they deliberately did not tell you. Qin Yun said. The Sky Cemetery Mountain's divine Yang Dharma spirit might be related to the Nine Heavens goddess. These bastards, just you wait. Luo Shuang snorted. Soon, Qin Yun and Luo Shuang arrived near the Hall of Supremacy's battleship. Although the battleship's defense was very strong, it was nothing in Qin Yun's eyes. The Hall of Supremacy has 3 battleships. Although this one is the largest, I'm not sure if the Deluo Crown Prince is inside, said Luo Shuang. Let's go in and take a look. Qin Yun said. Wait for me outside, I'll go in myself. After Qin Yun finished speaking, he was about to enter the Hall of Supremacy's battleship. However, he never expected that the battleship would suddenly shoot out a small divine sun core and shoot it towards the Sky Cemetery Mountain below. It was not only the Hall of Supremacy's battleship. The battleships of the other major factions also shot out small divine sun cores at the same time. There were a total of 50 to 60 of them, and they shot towards the Sky Cemetery Mountain at the same time. Mobile users, please visit Chapter 3303. The sudden attack caught Qin Yun off guard. He was stunned for a moment before deciding to enter the battleship to see if the Crown Prince of Deluo was inside. It was precisely because of this huge commotion that Qin Yun's infiltration into the battleship went very smoothly. After entering, he used the divine mirror of primordial beginning to sense the soul fluctuations around him. The divine mirror of primordial beginning had once recorded the soul fluctuations of the Crown Prince of Deluo. If he was close, he could sense it. Qin Yun hid inside the battleship and carefully walked around, allowing the divine mirror of primordial beginning to sense a larger area. As he searched for the Crown Prince of Deluo, he heard a loud noise coming from outside. These battleships were still attacking the Heaven Cemetery Mountain. It was unknown what they were up to. Inside the battleship, Qin Yun could sense that when the battleship shot out the little divine sun's core, a very powerful energy was condensed inside. When it shot out, the battleship would tremble violently. The Crown Prince of Deluo is not on this battleship. Qin Yun immediately left and continued to the other battleships of the Supreme Palace. These large factions did not send out super battleships. At this moment, they were all large battleships half the size of super battleship. These large battleships were relatively luxurious inside. They were probably the battleships of the big shots, and their offensive power was not weak. After Qin Yun came out of the battleship, he saw that the Heaven Cemetery Mountain was enveloped by a thick energy mist. There were originally many arrays and barriers, but now, the number of arrays and barriers was gradually decreasing. These guys are going to attack. Qin Yun took the opportunity to sneak into another battleship. As he entered, there was another round of fierce attacks from outside. These large factions had made an agreement, so they would attack the Heaven Cemetery Mountain on the ground at the same time. The Heaven Cemetery Mountain will not be breached that easily. I wonder what kind of people will come out after it is breached. Qin Yun was still somewhat worried because he knew that the divine Yang Law spirit that cultivated a body was very powerful. He suspected that the lost spirit had secretly ordered these large factions to do this. Even the universe god race had come. Luo Shuang had also said that Nine Heavens Island had come. From this, it could be seen that the Heaven Cemetery Mountain was very important to them. There's no one here either. Is the Crown Prince of Deluo not in the Supreme Palace's battleship? Qin Yun could only leave the battleship and quickly enter the Third Supreme Palace battleship. Although it was night, the large area was illuminated. The battleship was still attacking fiercely. Qin Yun learned from Luo Shuang and Luo Shu that the empires and the Taisha factions did not have many little divine sun cores. They would use them sparingly. Now, they had expended a lot of little divine sun cores by attacking Tianmound Mountain. Without sufficient benefits, they would not do so. Qin Yun, I suspect that they are feeding Heaven Cemetery Mountain, said Taisha suddenly. Qin Yun had just informed Brother Taisha of the situation outside. Yun, could it be that they are going to release a very powerful guy? Qin Yun said in alarm. The Heaven Cemetery Mountain's seal is extremely strong. They are only attacking the outermost layer of defense. Heaven, they are heavens Yun how, the seal is prince of. If they're the god, the prince of the heaven, he sect master, the shan, the sect of, he has is Yun. Dao heaven Yun Tian sex Qin. If there really is a very powerful guy inside, once he has enough energy, he might be able to break through the heavenly grave mountain and escape. Qin Yun had previously guessed that the universe law spirit was behind this. If that was the case, then why did the universe's Dharma spirit let this guy out? Qin Yun, the person who was experimented on by the universe's law spirit using the divine sun blood seed shouldn't be the only one. There are others, it's just that the Phoenix clan ancestor doesn't know about them. Old Brother Taisha said. The Phoenix ancestor is the first experimental subject, and was sealed many years ago. In the years to come, the universe law spirit will definitely conduct many kinds of experiments. Qin Yun had thought of this before because he knew from Luo Shuang that the Nine Heavens goddess had been collecting divine sun blood seeds for a long time. Forget it, let's take down the Crown Prince of Zenith Luo first. This guy has been disgusting Yuelon for so long, it's time for him to die. Qin Yun held the divine mirror of grand beginning and searched for the Crown Prince's soul fluctuations in the third battleship of the Sovereign Hall. Before long, the divine mirror of grand beginning reacted. Found it. If the Crown Prince of Zenith Luo's true body is here, he will definitely know about the Heaven Cemetery Mountain. I'll know when I ask him. Qin Yun was still unable to determine if it was the Crown Prince of Zenith Luo's true body, although the divine mirror of grand beginning had detected relatively strong soul fluctuations. The battleship was very spacious. As it was the battleship of a big shot, there were many spacious and comfortable rooms. The Crown Prince of Zenith Luo was currently in one of the rooms. After Qin Yun sneaked into the room, he could not help but be secretly alarmed. In the middle of the spacious room was an octagonal black bed. The Crown Prince of Zenith Luo was sitting cross-legged on the bed with his eyes closed. Beneath the black bed, wisps of black gas surged out. This is the aura of the divine sun blood seed. Qin Yun was immediately alarmed after confirming it. Where did the Crown Prince of Zenith Luo get the divine sun blood seed? It had to be said that the Crown Prince of Zenith Luo was very afraid of death, so his perception was extremely powerful. He could sense the existence of danger. Not long after Qin Yun entered the room, the Crown Prince of Zenith Luo sensed danger approaching. He did not know what danger it was, but he immediately took out a huge bead and activated it. Trying to run? Qin Yun could tell at a glance that it was a bead that could allow one to perform spatial transference. He immediately released an extremely powerful nether sun power, sealing and distorting the surrounding space. At the same time, two beams of light formed from runes shot out from his eyes, piercing through the bead and destroying the runes within. Qin Yun. The Crown Prince of Zenith Luo screamed in fear. Following that, he felt a pain in his chest. The divine universe in his body had been destroyed by Qin Yun. Crown Prince of Zenith Luo, I had a hard time finding your true body. This should be our first official meeting. Are you in such a hurry to leave? Qin Yun chuckled. You destroyed me. The handsome face of the Crown Prince of Zenith Luo was filled with despair. You were trash to begin with. What's there to be destroyed about? Qin Yun slapped the Crown Prince of Zenith Luo onto the bed. Then, he asked, what are you cultivating here for? The Crown Prince of Zenith Luo was in extreme despair. He had been avoiding Qin Yun all this time, even staying far away from the Emperor Palace and staying with the Palace Master of Supreme Venerable. Yet, he had still been captured by Qin Yun. Qin Yun, let me live. I'm willing to be your slave. The Crown Prince of Zenith Luo pleaded. He still had avatars. As long as his soul remained, he could live on through them. Slave? I don't need it. If you were a goddess from the 9 heavens like Luo Shuang, that would be more like it. Qin Yun sneered. I have a mystic cultivation technique that allows me to cultivate and break through limit. I stole it from my father. The Crown Prince of Zenith Luo hurriedly said, the reason why the Palace Master of Supreme Venerable agreed to protect me is because I have this mystic cultivation technique. Mobile users please visit Chapter 3304. Qin Yun had come into contact with the divine Sun Blood Seed. Later on, with his own trial and error, he had accidentally broken through the limits of his cultivation. Now that the Zenith Luo Crown Prince was using the divine Sun Blood Seed to cultivate, he even said that he had a mystic art. This meant that it had a certain value. The Zenith Luo Celestial Arch was very mysterious and powerful. The Zenith Luo Crown Prince had obtained this mystic art from his father. Qin Yun was indeed very interested in it. Although Qin Yun's body had returned to the primordial state, it was currently only suitable for himself. He hoped that all the gods of the divine court of myriad worlds could break through the limit. Only then could the entire divine court of myriad worlds become a supreme existence in the divine wilderness. Qin Yun, I know you have broken through, but your breakthrough is not a true breakthrough. No matter how high your cultivation is, it will be taken back in the future. As for my father and the other celestial thearchs, they have figured out a cultivation path that will not be taken back. The Zenith Luo Crown Prince said hurriedly when he saw that Qin Yun was tempted. If he wanted to live, he had to prove his worth. Only by living would he have a chance of turning the tables. Your cultivation mystic art uses the divine Sun Blood Seed, right? Qin Yun chuckled. You know about it too? The Zenith Luo Crown Prince exclaimed. He immediately thought of something. Qin Yun had already surpassed the divine universe realm, but not by exceeding it. Instead, he was using the divine Sun Blood Seed to cultivate. Your divine Sun Blood Seed is not pure enough, and there is only a tiny bit of it. Qin Yun looked at the bed. The divine Sun Blood Seed was sealed within the bed. It was released bit by bit through a large array and converted to a level that could be absorbed. Otherwise, if one directly absorbed the divine Sun Blood Seed, they would not be able to withstand it like Patriarch Phoenix. The divine Sun Blood Seed was very common within the demonic Sun and demonic Sunday. Even the Zenith Luo Celestial Thearchs could only find these two types. Typically, as long as one was a demonic Sun or demonic Sun, regardless of their size, one would be able to find a tiny bit of the divine Sun Blood Seed inside the divine Sun core. This also resulted in the two types of divine Sun being extremely rare in the universe. Over the course of many universe epochs, they had been plundered clean. The Crown Prince of Zenith Luo was shocked because the matter of the divine Sun Blood Seed was a top secret to him. Even the powerhouses of Taisher factions might not know about it, such as the Master of the Hall of Paragon. Qin Yun also found it odd. The celestial emperors of the 4 empires seemed to know. Who told them? Luo Shuang hadn't told the exalted celestial emperor about it, so it couldn't be the Jyotian goddess. Crown Prince de Luo was in a panic. Qin Yun did not need his cultivation mystic technique, which meant that he was doomed. I won't kill you now, Qin Yun said. If I kill you here, it won't look good on you. The Crown Prince of Zenith Luo cursed inwardly. He naturally knew that Qin Yun wanted to kill him in front of everyone. Only by doing so would he be able to display his might as a godly monarch. Qin Yun took out the soul creation heavenly cauldron and placed it on Crown Prince's head. First, he severed the connection between Crown Prince's main soul and the Avatar's tiny soul. Then, he sealed Crown Prince's soul. The attacks on the Sky Cemetery Mountain outside were intense, so no one noticed the situation in the Crown Prince's secret chamber. Just like that, Qin Yun easily captured the Crown Prince of Zenith Luo. After finishing his task, he immediately left the warship. The battleships had already stopped attacking the little divine sun's core. The outer barrier of the heavenly cemetery mountain had already loosened. The gigantic mountain was currently enveloped by a tyrannical energy. The heavenly cemetery mountain seemed to have a very strong gravitational force that gathered the surrounding energy together, forming a vortex. After Qin Yun came out, he immediately went to find Luo Shuang. She was currently a distance away from the heavenly cemetery mountain. They are not attacking the heavenly cemetery mountain, but transferring energy. Luo Shuang could tell as well. They are releasing a very powerful fellow. Qin Yun said, "It might be a secret order from the universe's Dharma spirit." "Where's the Crown Prince of Zenith Luo? Did you not catch him?" Luo Shuang asked. Qin Yun looked very calm and nothing had happened on the battleship. No matter how she looked at it, it did not look like he had succeeded. "I've already caught him," Qin Yun said. "Then should we leave this place? Do you want to see what will happen here?" Luo Shuang wanted to see, but she was afraid of danger. If Qin Yun was here, she would not be afraid. "Of course I want to see. I am the divine king of the divine wilderness after all. I must know what kind of fellow is about to appear in the divine wilderness." Qin Yun was also very helpless. The Nine-Yang Dharma spirit had given him a very difficult task. He could not ignore it. After all, the divine wilderness was the land where he grew up. It was equivalent to his home. He could not bear to see the divine wilderness being polluted by others, nor could he bear to see the lives on this land being slaughtered. "They are starting to inject other energy," Luo Shuang said again. "It looks like divine sun energy. Could it be that they have some kind of container that stores a lot of this energy?" At this moment, more and more battleships were flying over. There were even super battleships arriving, all of them transferring energy to the heavenly cemetery mountain. Luo Shuang, the celestial Dharch of Great Luo, also knows about the divine sun blood seed. "How did he know?" Qin Yun asked. "What? You? Where did you learn about this?" Luo Shuang was also very surprised. "The Crown Prince of Great Luo said it. When I caught him, he was using the divine sun blood seed to cultivate. He used this secret cultivation method to make the Supreme Palace Master pay attention to him." Qin Yun looked at Luo Shuang and said, "You did not tell the celestial Dharch of Great Luo, did you?" "Of course not. Whether it was me or Xian Qingning, we never talked about this," Luo Shuang said with a frown. "My mother is also a goddess of the nine skies. I inherited my mother's memories. I am very sure that my mother did not say anything either. Then there is only one possibility. The universe's Dharma spirit revealed it to the celestial Thearchs," Qin Yun said. "And it revealed it a long time ago. Perhaps it even asked the celestial Thearchs to help collect the divine sun blood seed. Can the divine sun blood seed really be used for cultivation? Don't tell me you used this to break through the limit to cultivate?" Luo Shuang suddenly thought of something. Qin Yun had previously said that he had broken through, but not to the divine universe realm. The Crown Prince of Great Luo said that he has a secret cultivation method. He also said that as long as I am willing to spare his life, he will tell me the secret method. Qin Yun said, "What about you? Did you kill him?" Luo Shuang's heart suddenly ached. She also wanted the secret method. Wouldn't killing him here be letting him off easy? Qin Yun said with a smile, "I have a way to search his soul for the secret cultivation method. He doesn't need to say it himself." This was why Qin Yun had used the soul creation heaven cauldron to seal the Crown Prince's soul. The sky brightened. The 8 myriad worlds' divine suns rose in the sky, illuminating the land. At that moment, the heaven cemetery mountain suddenly shot a huge blood-red beam into the sky. It looked like the heaven cemetery mountain was spewing a huge fountain of blood into the sky. What was shocking was that the direction of the fountain of blood was actually behind the 8 myriad realms' divine suns that were lined up side by side. That was where the 9th divine sun should have been. Chapter 3305. When Qin Yun saw this scene, he could not help but tremble as fear spread throughout his body. There was indeed a very powerful divine sun law spirit sealed within the heavenly cemetery mountain. It was not only Qin Yun. Everyone present, including the powerhouses of the various major factions, were alarmed by this sudden scene. This kind of fear seemed to envelop the entire divine desolate. In that instant, Qin Yun thought of many things. For example, was the 9th divine sun about to be born? Could it be created through the heavenly cemetery mountain? Not long after everyone was alarmed, the heavenly cemetery mountain below suddenly collapsed. All the array formations and enchantments of the heavenly cemetery mountain lost their effectiveness. The entire heavenly cemetery mountain seemed to have been hollowed out. The blood-colored gushing spring did not last long. It gushed high into the sky and lined up side by side with the 8 myriad worlds' divine suns, as if it wanted to replace the 9th divine sun, condensing into a mass of air that emitted a bright red light. The ball of air gradually shrank and shrank. The 8 myriad realms' divine suns seemed to have their energy extracted. One could see that the light emitted by the other 8 myriad realms' divine suns was distorted and drawn into the ball of blood light. The ball of blood light became smaller and smaller until it finally disappeared. When he saw the blood light disappear, Qin Yun knew that it had turned into a person. Because it was at a very high position, it could not be seen from below. What happened just now? Luo Shuang's voice trembled slightly. She had already been frightened by the terrifying aura that had just erupted. Even now, she could not calm down. A very strong fellow. It should be an experimental product of the universe law spirit using the divine sun blood seed, and it was very successful. I wonder how many of such fellows there are. The energy that gushed out just now contained the divine sun blood seed liquid. Qin Yun looked up into the sky with a solemn expression. There was clearly a terrifying aura just now, but it quickly disappeared. He was unable to track that aura. Qin Yun did not know what the universe law spirit was doing, but he was certain that the universe law spirit had done many experiments with the divine sun blood seed. As for himself, he might have been one of the universe law spirit's experimenters. The universe law spirit had deliberately left behind the divine sun blood seed in his 9 sun divine soul. If the universe law spirit wanted to snatch it back, it would definitely incite the heavenly emperors of several empires to snatch it. However, the universe law spirit did not. This means that the universe's law spirit also wants to see if Qin Yun can absorb the divine sun blood seed. Qin Yun could not help but clench his fists. Only now did he realize that he had unknowingly become the experimental subject of the universe's law spirit. Furthermore, he was the one who took the initiative to conduct the experiment. He even took a huge risk. This made him feel like he was being manipulated. He clearly knew that he was a chess piece, but there was nothing he could do. The Crown Prince of Zenith Luo said that the celestial thearchs of the four empires all had mystic arts that allowed them to absorb the divine sun blood seed fluid for cultivation. This meant that they were also experimental subjects, and they were willing to participate in the experiment. Qin Yun had used the divine mirror of Grand beginning to illuminate what had happened and got Brother Grand beginning to analyze it. Old Brother Taisher is also very alarmed. He pondered for a while before telling Qin Yun his guess. The fellow inside the Tianming mountain should be sealed by the universe's law spirit. The Nine Yang Dharma spirit had allowed this Tianfen mountain to descend here. In other words, the Nine Yang Dharma spirit once wanted to use this method to cultivate a body. Old Brother Taisher said. But later on, the Nine Yang Dharma spirit and the universe's law spirit had a disagreement, so they went their separate ways. Both the Nine Yang Dharma spirit and the universe's law spirit wanted to transform into a human. They wanted to leave this universe forever and obtain true transcendence. This was their common goal, so it was indeed possible for them to join hands. Qin Yun looked at the collapsing Tianming mountain. He also wanted to ask the Nine Yang Dharma spirit about it. The reason why the universe's law spirit sealed a divine sun law spirit was because the divine sun law spirit had escaped his control. Or perhaps, the method used would cause the divine sun law spirit to enter a state of insanity during the transformation stage. Old Brother Taisher said again. The Phoenix Patriarch was an example. After many years, he gradually stabilized. The Crown Prince of Zenith Luo had absorbed the divine sun blood seed fluid through an array formation. Furthermore, the divine sun blood seed fluid was not pure. Clearly, it had been diluted with something else. You have to be careful of that divine sun law spirit. The universe's law spirit must have released this fellow for some reason. It might be to deal with you, or it might be to fight against the Nine Yang law spirit, or it might be to see the results of his experiment. Old Brother Taisher exhorted. The universe's law spirit made the Taisher factions and the four empires move out to break the seal, but he did not do anything himself. This means that his strength is currently weakening, or he can't free himself to do anything. Qin Yun also became vigilant to prevent any sneak attacks. The surrounding battleships left one after another. Their mission in Tianming Mountain had been completed, so they naturally had to leave quickly. Furthermore, they were somewhat worried about the divine sun law spirit that had been released. The greatest possibility is that he wants to seize the ninth divine sun. Old Brother Taisher said, the ninth divine sun is extremely crucial. Perhaps even the Nine Yang divine maidens do not know how important it is. They only know that they have to protect it from being snatched away. The Nine Yang divine maidens believed that they could completely withstand the ninth divine sun's core. They were indeed very powerful, especially within the divine sun. However, it was different now. A divine sun law spirit in human form had appeared. Furthermore, it was from the universe's law spirit side. I want to lure this fellow out and figure out the universe's law spirit's intentions in releasing him. If he is really after the ninth divine sun, then I'll kill him ahead of time. Qin Yun had previously sensed that the appearance of the ninth divine sun would definitely stir up a bloodbath in the entire divine wilderness. Now, a divine sun law spirit in human form had suddenly appeared. This was extremely dangerous. Qin Yun immediately flew towards the great Luo Imperial Palace. Where are you going? To the Imperial Palace? Luo Shuang hurriedly followed Qin Yun. Crown Prince of Great Luo, you can die now. I want to lure out that fellow who just escaped. Qin Yun said expressionlessly. What? That fellow is very terrifying. Luo Shuang's heart trembled as fear surged in her heart. She did not wish to follow Qin Yun. If he really is my enemy, then I'll take this opportunity to kill him now. This fellow has just escaped and is at his weakest. Qin Yun said. He believed that the universe's law spirit already knew that he had broken through the limits of the divine sun blood seed. However, it had not attacked him yet because it wanted to observe his growth or give him time to grow. After all, he was a very precious experimental subject. The crown prince of Great Luo's soul was sealed in the soul creation heavenly cauldron. Most of his memories had been searched. Qin Yun transferred the crown prince's soul back into his body. He wanted to kill the crown prince at the entrance of the Great Luo Imperial Palace. This would definitely cause a stir in the entire divine wilderness. When that happened, the celestial emperor of Great Luo might come out with the 4 kings and 9 generals. That would cause a fierce battle. Qin Yun wanted to use such a battle to lure out the divine Sun-Law spirit. After being sealed for so many years, the divine Sun-Law spirit that had regained its freedom should be eager to show off its abilities. Chapter 3306. Luo Shuang followed beside Qin Yun, filled with worry. She did not know why, but she was extremely afraid of the person who had come out of the Tianfen mountain. His aura made her feel an indescribable pressure. "Can I stay away from you later?" Luo Shuang asked. "Of course. You can't expose yourself yet. Try to keep your distance from me. You don't have to follow me," Qin Yun said. "I've already helped you find the crown prince of Daluo. I don't need to help you in the future, right?" Luo Shuang was a high and mighty goddess. She obviously did not want to become someone else's slave. "You said that you'd help me capture Xian Qingning," Qin Yun said. "Let's talk about it later," Luo Shuang said. "You'll be fighting in a while. You might have to fight my father or the people of Tianfen Mountain." "You think I'll die?" Qin Yun found it funny. "That's hard to say. Even if you can defeat my father, you might not be able to defeat the people of Tianfen Mountain," Luo Shuang said. She felt that the person who had come out of Tianfen Mountain was much more terrifying than Qin Yun. Although she was filled with despair when facing Qin Yun, the people of Tianfen Mountain not only made her despair, but also made her feel like she had fallen into an abyss of fear. What she did not know was that Qin Yun's temperament was rather gentle. Furthermore, he had not scared her much after taking control of her. That was why she could not sense Qin Yun's terrifying might. If Qin Yun wanted to kill her, she would also feel extreme fear and despair. "I won't die," Qin Yun said. "You should think about how to obtain more power in the Daluo Empire in the future and how to deal with those old foxes from Wang Tianga." Luo Shuang only snorted softly. She was indeed thinking about it, but there was nothing she could do. In her opinion, only with great power would she not have such a headache. She could beat up whoever made her unhappy until she was satisfied. Just like Qin Yun, he did not care about empires or Taisha factions. If he was unhappy, he would capture the crown prince of Daluo and then run to Daluo Imperial City to kill him. Half a day later, Qin Yun arrived at the entrance of Daluo Imperial City alone. In front of the city gates of Daluo Emperor City, there were many barbarians. They did not enter a berserk state and looked like normal people. These barbarians had come to Daluo Imperial City to demand an explanation. They felt that the Daluo Empire was the one who had provoked the battle outside the city. Even though the Daluo Empire had suffered the most casualties, they still felt that the Daluo Empire had to take responsibility. Otherwise, they would start a war. The exalted Celestial Emperor had gone to the Skynecropolis mountain earlier, but now that he was back in the city, he didn't do anything to stop the barbarians. He didn't seem to care. The Daluo Empire was huge and had many powerful generals and warriors. There was no need for him, the Heavenly Emperor, to worry about them. If he had to worry about everything, why would the Daluo Empire need 4 kings and 9 generals? What was the point of keeping so many soldiers and generals? That was why the exalted Celestial Emperor didn't even spare a glance at the city. He wouldn't make a move unless the barbarians broke through the city's barrier and launched a full-scale attack. The barbarians weren't stupid. They knew the Daluo Empire's bottom line. They just wanted to stir up trouble and gain some benefit. They also wanted to provoke the Daluo Empire into sending out their warriors. After all, the barbarians loved to fight. They wouldn't be at a disadvantage if a fight broke out. In the evening, tens of thousands of barbarians surrounded the grand gates of Daluo Imperial City, cursing wildly. They were mainly cursing the Daluo Empire for being cowards and coward. Their voices were so loud that they could be heard inside Daluo Imperial City. They were even being broadcasted on the demonic mirror. The other three empires were also secretly adding fuel to the fire. They wanted to see the Daluo Empire and the barbarians fight. The four empires seemed to be united on the surface, but they were secretly using each other. They were all urging the Daluo Empire to fight and said that they would definitely help if a fight broke out. The other three empires would naturally help, but the Daluo Empire didn't want to stand out. Otherwise, it would be Daluo Imperial City that would be destroyed. I've fought with empires and Taisher factions before. These barbarians haven't fought with me yet. They've been in the Nine Suns sacred ground for so long. It's time for them to get to know me, the God King. Qin Yun took out a spear and released the Daluo Crown Prince. The Daluo Crown Prince's strength had already been sealed by Qin Yun. His soul had also been tortured to a half-dead state. Qin Yun took a deep breath and threw the Daluo Crown Prince's body. Then, he injected his power into the spear and stabbed it at the Daluo Crown Prince. When the spear stabbed at the Daluo Crown Prince, it exploded with an incomparably powerful aura, whistling through the air from afar. The sudden appearance of this aura caused the tens of thousands of barbarians outside the city gates to go into a frenzy. They immediately erupted and entered a berserk state. In the blink of an eye, the tens of thousands of barbarians turned into giants. They sensed danger approaching and thought that the Daluo Celestial Arch had come out. Just as they finished transforming, they saw a beam of light shoot at them. The spear pierced through the Daluo Crown Prince's body and carried him towards the city gates of Daluo Imperial City. Boom! The spear pierced through several barriers before finally stabbing into the city gates, pinning the Daluo Crown Prince's body to the tall and majestic city gate. The barbarians were shocked to see this scene. They had thought that the Daluo Empire had sent experts to deal with them. They never expected that it would be someone else attacking the city. The soldiers guarding Daluo Imperial City were also shocked. They could clearly see that the Daluo Empire's crown prince was nailed to the city gates, dead. The news immediately spread through the magic mirror. Although Luo Shu knew that Qin Yun had gone to the Imperial City to find the Daluo Crown Prince, and that he wanted to kill the Daluo Crown Prince, she was still shocked to see the news through the magic mirror. Qin Yun really did it. Phoenix Queen took a deep breath. She believed that her methods were ruthless enough, but Qin Yun was not only ruthless but also arrogant. This was no doubt trampling on the Daluo Celestial Thearcha's face. When the Divine Judge heard the news, he knew that Qin Yun was about to face a fierce battle. Although the Divine Court of Myriad Worlds was powerful, it was powerless against the many factions of the Nine Suns sacred ground. The bigwigs of the various factions who had just left the Sky Cemetery Mountain turned around and flew towards Daluo Imperial City. Qin Yun had arrived. He was finally going to attack the powerful empire. The Taisher factions and the empire were on the same side, so they naturally had to work together to resist the godly king Qin Yun. They had resisted the godly king's order from the beginning. Although the divine wilderness was created by the Nine Sun Dharma spirit and appointed Qin Yun as the godly king to manage it, they refused to acknowledge it. The Nine Sun Dharma spirit could not directly chase them away and was also restricted by the universe Dharma spirit. Therefore, they occupied the core of the divine wilderness, the Nine Sun sacred ground. Now, the godly king Qin Yun had finally come to the Nine Sun sacred ground and attacked the empire. This meant that the various factions of the Nine Sun sacred ground, including the barbarians, would join forces to resist the godly king Qin Yun. Chapter 3307. Many berserk barbarians had gathered at the entrance of Daluo Imperial City, but they quickly reverted to their original forms when they heard Qin Yun's arrival. When their leader saw Daluo's crown prince nailed to death at the city gate and sensed Qin Yun's terrifying aura, he knew that Qin Yun was not someone they could fight. Although the barbarians were wild and belligerent, their leader instinctively sensed that Qin Yun was very dangerous. Therefore, he had the barbarians revert to their original forms and temporarily avoid conflict with Qin Yun. They would wait for the barbarians' big shots to arrive. Qin Yun, you're finally here. The Daluo Celestial Emperor's voice came from the sky. Will you come out or should I attack? Qin Yun asked. Attack? He had single-handedly attacked Daluo Emperor City. Furthermore, he had spoken of it in such a calm manner, as though it was something insignificant. Let me think about it. The Daluo Celestial Emperor's answer was very interesting. He didn't say anything, nor did he ask Qin Yun to come in. This meant that he was very wary of Qin Yun. The Daluo Celestial Emperor also knew that his allies were on the way. He was also stalling for time, waiting for the other empires' Celestial Emperors and Taisha factions' big shots to arrive. Crown Prince Huoling was killed by Qin Yun, and Celestial Emperor Huoling would arrive soon. The Daluo Celestial Emperor planned to let Celestial Emperor Huoling fight Qin Yun first to test his strength. Qin Yun didn't immediately attack Daluo Imperial City. He naturally knew the Daluo Celestial Emperor's intentions. Qin Yun was here today to stir up trouble, so he wasn't afraid of the other Celestial Emperors. Luo Shuang soon learned that the big shots of the Nine Sun factions were rushing to Daluo Imperial City. The new beginning human camp will definitely fight against Qin Yun together. Because the Nine Sun Sacred Land was already considered by the new humans as their territory, they saw Qin Yun as their leader, so they were very resistant to him. You are the God King of Divine Wilderness? A barbarian looked up at Qin Yun at the entrance of the Imperial City and shouted, The Nine Sun Holy Land is ours. Hurry up and get out. Qin Yun didn't even look at the barbarian. He floated in the air with his hands behind his back. Although he was looking at the palace inside Daluo Imperial City, his attention was mainly focused on the sky. The guy who ran out of the Heaven Cemetery Mountain was most likely to fly over. That was his strongest opponent. These barbarians feel that their limelight has been stolen by Qin Yun. They are very unhappy. If not for their leader forbidding them to take action, they would have already rushed towards Qin Yun. The barbarian became even more furious after being ignored by Qin Yun. He sneered and said, A divine monarch like you is just a mountain king. You are very powerful outside the Nine Sun Sacred Land, but inside the Nine Sun Sacred Land, you are nothing. This is definitely the first time you are seeing powerful humans like us. We are the strongest humans in the Divine Desolate. We have killed many weak fellows like you outside the Nine Sun Sacred Ground. But you haven't even killed a single one of us. What right do you have to make us follow the order you set? Qin Yun originally did not want to speak, but he could not help but say indifferently, I'm sorry, not long ago I met a nest of rats that are very similar to you, and I even trampled a few to death. He had disguised himself and entered the barbarians' territory to kill a few, then thoroughly angered the other barbarians. That is why the commotion broke out outside the great Luo Imperial City. Hearing Qin Yun's words, the barbarians that Qin Yun deliberately let go immediately roared in anger. It is him who killed our companions! One of the barbarians shouted. The people of Great Luo Imperial City suddenly understood why the commotion broke out outside the city and why so many nobles were killed. So it was Qin Yun who instigated it. That's right, it is me. You only recognized me now. You are truly hopelessly stupid, Qin Yun said with sneer. You guys dare to call yourselves the strongest humans? In my eyes, you are just a bunch of stupid pigs. Oh right. I never asked you to follow the order because you are not worthy. You are not qualified to follow the order, So you either scram out of the divine desolate or die, there is no other choice. More than 10,000 barbarians became angry, they immediately roared and turned into giants. The Empire's soldiers on the city wall are all secretly shocked. Qin Yun actually deliberately angered so many barbarians. Is he not afraid of being surrounded and attacked? God Fart, God King of Divine Desolate, today we will end you. The leader of the barbarians can no longer suppress his subordinates. He can only take advantage of the situation, and loudly shouted. If he continues to obstruct the operation, his subordinates will disgust him, and he will be abandoned. Since you said that you killed so many humans outside the Nine Sun sacred ground, then I will execute you on the spot today. Qin Yun saw the huge berserk barbarians approaching. He released his aura and formed a very powerful supergravity domain that pressed down on the barbarians. After transforming, the barbarians' power and body became very formidable. They can fight 10 imperial soldiers at once. But now, after being pressed down by the supergravity, they suddenly stopped in place, unable to take another step forward. The most shocking thing is that as the supergravity continues to increase, these berserk barbarians have no choice but to kneel on the ground. Bang, bang, bang. Even though the berserk barbarians tried their best to resist the supergravity, they still fell to their knees and knelt on the ground. Qin Yun suddenly pointed at the largest barbarian leader with 2 fingers and unleashed heaven, extinguishing 9 fingers, exploding heaven finger. The finger power exploded and hit the leader's body. With a loud explosion, countless lightning bolts exploded in all directions and the barbarian leader was instantly smashed to pieces. His body fragments were accompanied by berserk energy and lightning bolts and scattered all over the place. Luo Shuang is scared silly seeing this scene. She originally thought that Qin Yun would take out his equipment and rush over to kill. She did not expect that Qin Yun would kill this powerful barbarian leader with just a casual point of his finger. The great Luo Empire's soldiers inside the city are also scared silly. They have been facing so many barbarians for the past few days, they have been under great pressure. However, these barbarians were forced to kneel by Qin Yun in an instant. Their strongest leader was even killed by a single finger. Is this the God King of Divine Desolate? His strength is so dreadful, no wonder he dared to kill their crown prince in front of great Luo Empire city's gate. Those barbarians are finally scared. They are usually arrogant and conceited. They think that they are unparalleled under the heavens. But now they finally know what despair is. In the past, it was always them who brought despair to others. But now, it is their turn to struggle in the face of despair. Die! Qin Yun raised his hand and all the barbarians were suddenly lifted up by gravity and floated in the sky. 2 gravitational forces suddenly pressed down and crushed more than 10,000 barbarians. Qin Yun then controlled the gravity and crushed the barbarians into a ball. Then he threw them into the 9 Sun Divine Souls Nether Sun Pearl to feed to the Nether Sun. Chapter 3308. The barbarians had been causing a ruckus at the entrance of Daluo Imperial City for several days. Now that Qin Yun had killed them, there was a rare moment of silence. And this silence was like a dead silence. That was because it was too frightening. Tens of thousands of powerful barbarians had entered a berserk state, yet they had been killed by a single person in such a short period of time. Not even their corpses were left intact. The barbarian bigwigs who saw this scene through the magic mirror were infuriated. At the same time, they felt slight fear. The bigwigs of the 4 empires and the Taisher factions also had a preliminary understanding of Qin Yun's strength after breaking through the limits. He was much stronger than they had imagined. However, they still believed that as long as they worked together, they would definitely be able to kill Qin Yun. Qin Yun had originally planned to kill the Daluo Crown Prince and intimidate the 9 Sun sacred ground. He had not intended to cause such a huge scene. Later, the mysterious Dharma spirit of the Heaven Cemetery Mountain appeared. In addition, he learned that the 4 heavenly emperors had secret cultivation techniques that allowed them to use the divine sun blood fluid to cultivate. First, he wanted to test the 4 heavenly emperors' strength. Second, he wanted to lure out the mysterious Dharma spirit that had escaped from the Heaven Cemetery Mountain. Qin Yun was currently floating outside Daluo Imperial City. He had not attacked the city. Instead, he had killed the barbarians who were causing a ruckus outside the city. This gave the entire Daluo Imperial City even more pressure. There were many people in the Imperial City, and they were the most powerful people in the Great Luo Empire. This group of people had followed the Great Luo Imperial City from the distant cosmos to the God Wilderness. They knew that there was order in the God Wilderness, and Qin Yun was the divine king who maintained that order. Now that this divine king was outside their imperial city and so powerful, they were very worried that they could not defend it. The Daluo Celestial Emperor had asked Qin Yun to wait. Of course, Qin Yun would not wait forever. Seeing that the Daluo Celestial Emperor had not taken action, he knew that the Celestial Emperor was waiting for his allies to arrive. It's about time. Qin Yun suddenly formed a seal with both hands and released the Divine King Heavenly Seal. He was about to attack the city. Luo Shuang watched from afar. When she saw Qin Yun's serious expression, she knew that he was about to attack the city. She was a little reluctant in her heart. In her eyes, the Daluo Imperial City might belong to her in the future, but now it might be destroyed. Many people could see Qin Yun's solemn expression through the magic mirror. They knew that something major was about to happen. In the direction of Daluo Emperor City, more than 10 people suddenly appeared. They were all wearing shining golden armors, and they looked mighty and mighty as they floated above the city walls. They did not leave the city, but remained within the barrier. 4 kings and 9 generals. The soldiers guarding the city shouted in surprise. The 4 kings and 9 generals came out. Although they didn't lead the army, with them around, everyone felt incomparably at ease. Although Qin Yun had previously defeated General Ice Sun and Azure Fire King, that was in a one-on-one battle. Now that he had to face 4 kings and 9 generals, no matter how strong he was, it was impossible for him to defeat so many people. This was what the people in the city and the people from the major forces thought. Even if Qin Yun had surpassed the divine space realm and was very strong, the 4 kings and 9 generals were not weak. If they joined forces, even if they could not defeat Qin Yun, they would definitely be able to fight him to a draw. That was because that was basically the case based on common sense. The major forces of the 9 Sun Holy Land had basically regressed from the divine space realm, so they all believed that the limit of the divine space realm was. Qin Yun saw the appearance of the 4 kings and 9 generals, but his heart was still unmoved. In his eyes, as long as they did not surpass the divine space realm, it did not matter how many people came. He was still casting spells. Not many people knew what he was doing, and they thought that he was carving something. Qin Yun, it is impossible for you to break the barrier of our Daluo Emperor City alone. You killed our crown prince and provoked a conflict between us and the barbarians. Today you will definitely be buried in the 9 Sun Holy Land. The person who spoke was a king, because he stood in front of the other 3 kings, and the armor on his body seemed to be more powerful. Hearing these words, the people in Daluo Emperor City shouted one after another, cheering for Daluo Emperor City. In an instant, the entire imperial city was filled with shouts. At least 10 million people were shouting. The momentum was very shocking, and when the barbarians hiding nearby heard it, they were somewhat shocked. But Qin Yun was not afraid at all. The 4 kings and 9 generals of the Daluo Empire did not come out, which meant that they were very clear about Qin Yun's strength. They knew that if they went out and faced Qin Yun, they would undoubtedly die. If they were strong enough, they would have already gone out of the city to kill Qin Yun. Only those who did not know the truth really thought that the 4 kings and 9 generals could surround and kill Qin Yun. The 9-sun Holy Land does not belong to you. Qin Yun pointed at the king who just spoke and then shot out a finger force. The pale golden finger force looked soft and powerless, but in an instant, it penetrated the layers of barrier of Daluo Emperor City, penetrated the body of the king, and hit the divine universe inside. A bowl-sized hole appeared in the chest of the king of Daluo Emperor City, and the divine universe inside his body was instantly destroyed. At this moment, his face was filled with fear. The other 3 kings and 9 generals were also trembling all over. Just a moment ago, the whole city was still cheering, but in the blink of an eye, it became incomparably quiet. Then, a burst of low cries filled with fear erupted. Even with the barrier separating them, he was still able to break in, and directly through the body of the king. What Qin Yun used just now was the power he gained after stepping into the origin realm. Combined with the heaven-extinguishing 9 fingers piercing heaven, its power was extremely strong, and it directly penetrated the barrier. Luo Shuang panicked. She could not help but float backwards. She wanted to leave Daluo Emperor City. Qin Yun's casual finger force was already so terrifying. If he seriously prepared a big move, wouldn't it be able to destroy heaven and earth? Luo Yeya has already rushed to Daluo Emperor City. She had already contacted her people in the Emperor City and told them to leave. She had already expected that Qin Yun would attack the city. The people she had planted in Daluo Emperor City had already left the city a few days ago. She had come to pick them up. When she passed by and saw Luo Shuang, she flew to her side. "What is he doing?" Luo Shuang asked. "He wants to use the 9-sun world annihilation scripture. Once he uses it, Daluo Emperor City will definitely be breached." Luo Yaya said, "This is one of the powerful divine techniques of the Divine King." As for the power of the 9-sun world annihilation scripture, Luo Yaya had only heard of it. It was executed with the help of the myriad realms' divine sun, and its power was very terrifying. At this moment, the barrier of Daluo Emperor City suddenly disappeared. The barrier protecting the Emperor City had been shut down. Qin Yun was quite surprised. With the barrier shut down, he could destroy the entire city with a few casual attacks. "I, Luo Aintian, admit defeat." Daluo Celestial Emperor's voice suddenly rang out. The Celestial Emperor's simple words shook the entire divine wilderness. This was once the strongest overlord of the Daluo cosmos. It could be said that when the divine wilderness was formed in the Daluo cosmos, Daluo Celestial Emperor was the most qualified to take it for himself. But now he actually admitted defeat. Chapter 3309. Surprised, Qin Yun subconsciously believed that there was a trap involved and that the Celestial Emperor was stalling for time. Qin Yun wasn't the only one. Even the 3 kings, 9 generals, Luo Shuang, and the other Origin Luo executives were shocked. In their eyes, the Origin Luo Celestial Emperor was someone who would never admit defeat. How could such a lofty figure who had dominated the universe for so many years bow his head so easily? The leaders of the other 3 empires and the Grand Prime factions also believed that the Celestial Emperor was faking his defeat. Publicly admitting defeat was the same as kneeling to Qin Yun. Qin Yun was still channeling the 9 solar annihilation scripture. He didn't believe the Celestial Emperor's words. At this time, a middle-aged man in plain white robes with grizzled temples appeared outside the city gates. He'd used a spatial divine item to transport himself out. Although the man was handsome, he lacked vitality and wasn't in a good state of mind. His weary eyes, however, contained a monstrous might. This was the Origin Luo Celestial Emperor, Luo Aintian, in person. Qin Yun was very familiar with this aura. It was the same one he'd sensed when he'd entered the lake. "You've been here before. I knew you were coming, but I didn't stop you." Luo Yingtian's voice was calm and unhurried, and he looked at Qin Yun with calm eyes. He knew that Qin Yun had entered the Water Moon. This made Qin Yun feel rather surprised. All eyes were on the Celestial Emperor and Qin Yun with bated breath. Qin Yun's friends watched the battle through the mirror with worry. They all believed that Qin Yun was about to fight the Celestial Emperor. Luo Yingtian stood on the ground, looking up at Qin Yun in the sky as if looking up at the heavens. "Why didn't you stop me?" Qin Yun asked. "Because I couldn't beat you," Luo Yingtian answered honestly. "Please stop, Divine King. I really admit defeat." What happened next left everyone in disbelief. Luo Yingtian, the Celestial Emperor, dropped to his knees and slowly bowed to Qin Yun. Luo Yingtian greets the Divine King. Qin Yun couldn't help but be taken aback and vigilant. Wasn't the Celestial Emperor admitting defeat a little too easily? He wasn't prepared at all. After all, they hadn't even fought, and the other party was already convinced. No one would believe that this was real. Moreover, Qin Yun had just killed the exalted Celestial Emperor's son not long ago. Even if he didn't have any feelings for Qin Yun, the Celestial Emperor should at least express his anger. The 3 kings and 9 generals who were still in the city gradually accepted this fact after recovering from their shock. Because just now, one of the kings was defeated by Qin Yun with a casual flick of his finger. Furthermore, they were separated by a powerful barrier. If not for the barrier, they wouldn't even have the chance to retaliate in front of Qin Yun. They would be instantly killed. Although Luo Yingtian was the exalted Celestial Emperor and stronger than the 3 kings and 9 generals, he was certain that he wouldn't last long against Qin Yun. Everyone thought that he had already broken through the limits and reached the Beyond Divine Universe realm, but in reality, he was still far from reaching it. However, he knew very well that Qin Yun had surpassed the Divine Space realm. Furthermore, it was a realm that he had discovered on his own. It was not the realm that surpassed the Divine Space realm that they were familiar with. Luo Yingtian wholeheartedly submitted to such a person. The realm he had been pursuing for many years was to break free from the universe. He didn't even know how to proceed. Although the universe's Dharma spirit had guided him, it was still very difficult to reach. Qin Yun didn't have anyone to guide him. The Dharma spirit had been very helpful to him, but it couldn't help him reach that new realm. After your exalted celestial empire came to the divine wilderness, your actions have led to the deaths of many powerful races. You can't just admit defeat and get away with it. Qin Yun said coldly. I am willing to do my best to make up for it. Divine King, please step aside for a moment to speak. Luo Yingtian was still kneeling on the ground. At this moment, he looked very humble. Everyone in Exalted Celestial Empire was dumbfounded. The Exalted Celestial Emperor in their eyes was actually kowtowing to the Divine King they had mocked for so long. Qin Yun released the 9 Suns sky-raising pagoda and entered it. At this moment, the 3 kings and 9 generals also came out of the city to guard the pagoda. Even now, the entire Exalted Celestial Empire still believed that their Celestial Emperor would defeat Qin Yun in the end. Luo Yingtian entered the 9 Suns sky-raising pagoda and continued kneeling on the ground. Divine King, please forgive me. I am willing to make up for everything and accept the punishment. Luo Yingtian kowtowed. First, immediately give the order to seal Exalted Celestial Empire's 100 cities. I will send people into the 100 cities to investigate. Anyone who has killed people outside the sacred land will be executed. Second, the Myriad Realms Divine Court will be stationed in every city and will have the greatest authority. You are not allowed to obstruct the Divine Court's actions. Third, you must compensate the powerful races outside the sacred land many times over. Fourth, I will publicly exterminate your main body. Your main soul will be sealed in a time formation and tortured for 10,000 years. Your avatar will stay outside and cooperate with the Divine Court's actions. Qin Yun directly stated his conditions. I agree. Luo Yingtian immediately took out the magic mirror and issued the order. Qin Yun also took out the magic mirror and contacted the divine court. He ordered the divine judges to immediately take action and station in exalted celestial empire's 100 cities. The 100 cities have already been sealed and will only open after the investigation is over. Soon after, Qin Yun announced the second, third and fourth conditions on the Magic Mirror's platform. This news once again shook the entire divine wilderness, because the exalted celestial emperor has truly admitted defeat. Qin Yun and Luo Yingtian arrived at the top of the nine-sun sky-raising pagoda. Qin Yun quickly took out Luo Yingtian's soul and destroyed his body with a palm strike. Then, he sealed his soul inside the soul creation heavenly cauldron. He will add a time formation and imprison Luo Yingtian's soul inside for 10,000 years. His soul will suffer all kinds of torture. This is his punishment. Luo Yingtian's soul has been inside the soul creation heavenly cauldron for 10,000 years. In the outside world, only 1 or 2 months have passed. When he comes out, he will still be able to catch up to the current era. Otherwise, he would not have admitted defeat so willingly. This is the attitude Qin Yun wanted. The celestial emperor who has dominated the exalted celestial cosmos for many years submitted to the divine king without even fighting, acknowledging the divine king's order and accepting his punishment. As long as the nine-sun sacred land doesn't have the exalted celestial empire, it will be much easier. The exalted celestial empire submitted, but the war did not end there. Luo Yingtian's conditions are not something the big shots of the other empires and Taisha factions will agree to because they are not facing the threat of Qin Yun yet. Qin Yun fought his way to the exalted celestial emperor's gate, wanting to destroy the city and capture him. Therefore, Luo Yingtian submitted. 3 empires, a dozen kingdoms, and more than a dozen Taisha factions are now on their way. They are all contacting each other, preparing to join forces to kill Qin Yun and divide the exalted celestial empire. This is exactly what Qin Yun is looking forward to. The exalted celestial emperor immediately knelt down. Qin Yun's great power has not been unleashed yet, so he has not achieved his goal. He must fight the experts of the nine-sun sacred land and lure out the people from the Heaven Cemetery Mountain. Although Luo Yingtian has completely submitted, Qin Yun's vigilance has not decreased. Chapter 33:10. The Daluo Celestial Emperor's surrender and punishment caused an uproar in Daluo Empire's 100 cities. Some were dissatisfied, while others understood the emperor's decision. Most were dissatisfied. In their eyes, it was a disgrace that Daluo Empire had surrendered without even fighting. Many Daluo people decided to join other empires and leave Daluo. However, the 100 cities of Daluo Empire were all sealed. This was Qin Yun's request. Sealing the cities and investigating those who had slaughtered experts outside the sacred land was mainly done by signing soul contracts with the people in the cities. In order not to cause chaos, Qin Yun had Wu Shaoding and the others take control of the magic mirror formation and restrict the spread of news in Daluo Empire's 100 cities. The divine court of myriad worlds had been making preparations all this time. As soon as they received Qin Yun's message, they moved quickly and arrived in the various cities of Daluo Empire. Qin Yun didn't need to worry about what happened next. The divine judge would take care of everything. What he needed to do was maintain the dignity of the divine court of myriad worlds. As the supreme existence of the divine court, he needed to display great power to intimidate the divine wilderness. Qin Yun had already entered Daluo Imperial City and arrived at the core of the Imperial Palace, the water moon core beneath the lake. He had come here to control the Magic Mirror Formation Foundation. Luo Yingtian knew Qin Yun had come but didn't know what he wanted. Now that he knew the Magic Mirror Formation Foundation had failed, he was secretly shocked. Luo Yingtian still had a clone inside the water moon. This place is very strange. Is it unique to Daluo Empire? When I came here, I sensed many teleportation formations. Can other empires come here too? Qin Yun looked at the crystal floating in the air from inside the core. Luo Yingtian was right behind him. His main soul was sealed, but his clone could still communicate with Qin Yun. Moreover, it wasn't affected much. His clone's soul was rather special. It shared memories with the main soul, but if the main soul was destroyed, the clone's soul wouldn't be affected. It was like there were two of him. But as long as the main soul existed, the clone's soul would forever be a substitute. The main soul could destroy the clone's soul with a single thought. There are 3 teleportation formations that lead to the other 3 empires. Each of their imperial palaces has a Taisher Nirvana city, and the Magic Mirror Formation Foundation is also in their empires. Luo Yingtian answered. Even if the Magic Mirror Formation Foundation is in the other empires, as long as it's connected to the other empires, we can take control of it. Qin Yun had previously considered this possibility. Therefore, Wu Shaoding and the God of Space had a set of dermic formulations to deal with it. God King, the other empires and Grand Primes are on their way. They will definitely attack Grand Luo City in the name of justice. However, they will definitely not be the first to attack. Luo Yingtian was also afraid that Luo would fall. Daluo Empire will Empire's imperial city? Yance asked. Yance. Lun, Monarch Luo's King Qin. They come from many different universes, but they are now unified, unlike us who have a few empires, a dozen or 20 kingdoms, and many powerful races. Luo Yingtian said, the barbarians are also new humans, and the universe's Dharma spirits value them. Empires Dals Bars. Empires Dals Qin's Empire. If this is the case, then the Bar's strength cannot be underestimated. Especially the one who can unify this camp. He must be very powerful. Someone who can unify an entire group of Bars must be very powerful. Qin Yun asked. Yes, very powerful. He is called Barbarian Emperor. I don't know how powerful he is. I only know that the universe's magic spirit spent a lot of effort on him. Luo Yingtian said, I wonder if he will fight this time. Even I don't know much about barbarians. Then what about the guy who came out of Heavenly Cemetery Mountain? How much do you know? Why did you release that guy? This is what Qin Yun cares about the most. The universe's magic spirit told us to do it. He said that the person who came out of Heavenly Cemetery Mountain can guide us to the true cultivation path. Luo Yingtian immediately replied, that person was transformed from a divine sun law spirit. This divine sun law spirit used to be the law spirit of 9 heavens divine sun. When Qin Yun heard about 9 heavens, he can't help but frown and ponder. 9 heavens used to be a very special space. There were 9 heavens goddesses, Tian Shixiang, Tian Shiro, Luo Yaofeng. These 9 heavens goddesses all stayed in 9 heavens for a very long time. Later on, 9 heavens divine sun was destroyed by the divine sun's descendant. What Qin Yun did not expect is that the 9 heavens divine sun law spirit actually transformed into a person. Actually, the appearance of the divine sun's descendant was caused by Great Luo Empire. As for how Great Luo Empire managed to do it, it should be related to the universe's magic spirit. Everything behind this seems to be controlled by the universe's magic spirit. Where is this 9 heavens divine sun law spirit now? Qin Yun asked. I don't know. We also want to find him, but the universe's magic spirit said that we only need to release him. Luo Yingtian said. Qin Yun's devil mirror trembled. Divine Judge is warning him that many powerful barbarians have gathered outside Great Luo Empire City. The big shots of other empires and Taisher powers have not arrived yet, but the barbarians have already arrived. Qin Yun immediately left. Luo Yingtian stayed behind. Luo Shuang is also inside the imperial palace. When she saw Qin Yun come out of the lake, she immediately chased after him. "Do you think my father is sincerely bowing down to you?" Luo Shuang asked. "Then what do you think?" Qin Yun is still somewhat puzzled. "He is just enduring right now. Maybe he is sincerely bowing down to you. But people can change their minds. He might be sincere now, but that might not be the case in the future." Luo Shuang is reminding Qin Yun. "I know." Qin Yun does not completely trust Luo Yingtian. As Luo Shuang said, Luo Yingtian is yielding now because he is not strong enough, so he chose to endure. But in the future, when he is strong enough, that might be the case. This matter is not that simple. Don't fall into his hands. Luo Shuang warned again. "Isn't it a good thing if I fall into your father's hands?" Qin Yun said with a smile. "He must already know that I am under your control. Once you are defeated, he will definitely kill me." Luo Shuang snorted. "I am just trying to protect myself." Qin Yun said no more. Although Luo Shuang is Luo Yingtian's daughter, they do not have any feelings for each other. The father and daughter pair are just using each other. Outside the city, many barbarians have indeed arrived. These barbarians are different from the ones before. Before entering Berserk state, these barbarians looked very normal. Although the barbarians in front of him did not enter a Berserk state, their skin was golden, and from their eyes they looked very rational and calm. Chapter 33:11. Qin Yun had learned from the Dragon Turtle King a long time ago that the barbarians were also evolving into new humans. He had killed a large group of Berserk barbarians not long ago. They had all become very powerful after evolving. Now, he saw that the golden-skinned barbarians were even stronger than the Berserk barbarians. In other words, these barbarians had evolved the most successfully. He could not help but think that since the barbarians had evolved so successfully, the primordial humans must have evolved as well. They just hadn't shown themselves yet. In his opinion, be it the barbarians or the primordial humans, they would definitely have a common characteristic after evolving into new humans. However, he had yet to see this characteristic, so he guessed that only a small portion of new humans could evolve to the most perfect form. Qin Yun, in essence, the barbarians and the primordial humans were created by the same power. The reason why they were created is to check and balance each other, and at the same time conduct experiments on two different paths. Old Brother Taisher had seen the difference in the barbarians through the divine mirror of primordial beginning, so he suspected that the Empire and the primordial factions might have similar perfect new humans, but they had hidden them away. If the Daluo Crown Prince could obtain the Divine Sun Blood Elixir for cultivation, doesn't that mean that the Divine Sun Blood Elixir is needed to become a perfect new humans? Qin Yun immediately thought of this. There was indeed a cultivation technique in the Daluo Crown Prince's memories, but he only knew a small portion. The Crown Prince knew too little about the Divine Sun Blood Elixir. How could the Temple Master not know? He treated the Daluo Crown Prince very well for this technique. Qin Yun suddenly felt puzzled. If the Temple Master also has a similar technique, then his technique is different from the Daluo Crown Prince's. That's why he wants to know more. In other words, the Daluo Celestial Emperor's technique is different from the Daluo Celestial Emperor's. Old Brother Taisher said, their cultivation techniques come from the universe's Dharma spirit. This means that the universe's Dharma spirit has inherited many different techniques. The universe's Dharma spirit had studied it for many years, so it definitely had many techniques to absorb the Divine Sun Blood Elixir. However, it couldn't be sure which one was better, so it passed it down to the powerhouses of various factions and had them try it out. Looks like the barbarians have this cultivation method as well. Is it because they're different that they cultivate faster than the Grand Prime humans? Qin Yun stood on the city wall and looked at the group of barbarians whose skin flickered with golden radiance. He suddenly felt worried. This was because he thought of the descendants of the Divine Sun. This was a danger hidden within the Divine Sun of the myriad realms. They were considered a very special race, and it was extremely likely that they were created by the universe's law spirit. If the universe's law spirit guided them and made them stronger, then the destruction of the myriad realms' divine sun might accelerate. Without the myriad worlds' divine sun, divine desolate was just a wasteland. Qin Yun, keep an eye on Luo Yingtian. This guy is really not simple. I don't think a celestial emperor of an empire would bow his head to you so straightforwardly. Perhaps he was sincere at the time, but that might not be the case in the future. Old brother Taisha reminded. Luo Shuang had said the same thing before. Qin Yun was naturally on guard against Luo Yingtian, but he couldn't figure out how Luo Yingtian could escape his seal. One had to know that the core of Luo Yingtian's main soul was sealed in the soul creation heavenly cauldron. If Luo Yingtian really had a way to escape Qin Yun's control, then there was only one possibility. Luo Yingtian had an even more powerful soul, which was equivalent to having two main souls of Luo Yingtian. This was not impossible. Qin Yun was now even more wary of Luo Yingtian. The arrival of the barbarians with perfect evolution made Qin Yun think of many things. He knew that the matter of the new humans was not that simple. Qin Yun, we are not here to cause trouble. We want to meet you, the Divine King. The premise is that you have to prove that you have the ability to do so. Suddenly, a voice came. It sounded young, and it sounded like a young man with a very refreshing voice. Qin Yun glanced at the hundreds of golden-skinned barbarians and didn't find any obvious person. Many of the Daluo people in the city were secretly shocked. Even the barbarians were going to kneel? Qin Yun did not think so. The group of barbarians in front of him looked very powerful and gentle, but he could still feel the faintly discernible battle intent from them. Who are you? Qin Yun asked directly. I am Barbarian Emperor. You must have heard from Luo Yingtian that I am the one who unified the entire barbarian race. The voice came again. It sounded as if it came from very close, but no one could be seen. I just heard. I don't think you are here to worship me. Qin Yun said with a smile. Barbarian Emperor, are you afraid of me? So you don't dare to show yourself? Ha ha ha, of course I am not afraid of you. It's just that I can't come because I have something to do. I am fighting with others now, I really don't have time to come personally. Barbarian Emperor said with a smile. Guess who I am fighting with? Fighting with who? Qin Yun asked. Nine Yang Law Spirit. Barbarian Emperor laughed and said, Do you believe me? Qin Yun was shocked. He didn't know whether he should believe it or not. Qin Yun, if you want me to recognize you as the Divine King, it's very simple. Defeat my 10 barbarian kings. Today they will fight for me. Barbarian Emperor said, As long as you defeat them with your own strength, I will worship you as the Divine King. Otherwise, let me be the Divine King. Qin Yun is somewhat impatient. He really hoped that the Empire and Taisha powers would come to cause trouble for him, and then he would fight back. But now there was a barbarian race blocking him. Come. Qin Yun flew out of Great Luo Imperial City and floated in the sky above the large open space outside the Imperial City. Everyone immediately became excited. This time, the barbarian race sent out 10 barbarian kings. It is said that there were many barbarian race universes in the past, and these barbarian kings were equivalent to heavenly emperor-level characters. The one who came out to fight Qin Yun is a middle-aged man with golden skin and red eyes. He looks very powerful, but Qin Yun doesn't feel any pressure from him. Do you know how many barbarians we have now? The middle-aged man asked. I don't know. Qin Yun said. I am the bloodthirsty barbarian king. I have 3 billion people in my territory within the 9 Sun sacred land. The bloodthirsty barbarian king sneered. We 10 barbarian kings, each control 3 billion. The 9-sun sacred land is very large and the barbarian race camp occupies most of the territory. Even if they have tens of billions of people, the 9-sun sacred land is still very sparse and the rich resources are enough to support so many people. So what? Qin Yun disapproved of this. So what? This means that the entire God Desolate will be ours sooner or later. Our numbers will be the greatest. No matter how strong you are, you won't be able to kill us all, the bloodthirsty barbarian king said. Chapter 33:12. Hearing this, Qin Yun suddenly thought of those divine sun descendants. Their reproductive power is very terrifying. Barbarian race is indeed very powerful, but their reproductive power was very poor in the past. Now, not only they no longer have this weakness, their reproductive power has also become even faster. According to the strength and reproductive power of barbarians, as long as they continue to grow stronger, more than half of the humans in Divine Desolate will be barbarians. Divine Desolate does not belong to you and it also does not welcome you. But since you are here, you must abide by the order of Divine Desolate. Qin Yun said. Order? Only with great power can we establish order. As long as we are strong enough, we will be the order. Bloodthirsty Barbarian King said. Qin Yun, in fact, even if you defeat our 10 barbarian kings and our barbarian emperor, our entire barbarian race will not acknowledge you unless you exterminate us. While speaking, Bloodthirsty Barbarian King rushed towards Qin Yun and quickly punched. His other hand also took out a saber and slashed towards Qin Yun's waist. Qin Yun floated in the air, always vigilant of his opponent. He sensed his opponent's movement and immediately dodged. After narrowly dodging Bloodthirsty Barbarian King's attack, he suddenly raised his hand and released Sun Heavenly Shield. His opponent's speed is very fast and his movement technique is very strange. Qin Yun judged that he would not be able to continuously dodge, so he can only release Sun Heavenly Shield the moment he dodged. Sure enough, Bloodthirsty Barbarian King's next attack is very fast. He suddenly arrived above Qin Yun and chopped down with 2 sabers. Qin Yun's entire body is protected by Sun Heavenly Shield. Although he blocked the extremely fast sabers, he was still hit by an extremely strong power and fell to the ground. His feet landed on the ground, causing the earth to shake violently. Although the earth cracked, the crack is not very big. 9-sun Holy Land's earth is very hard and can absorb most of the energy. Now the earth is not so easy to break, it cannot be casually cracked. This means that Divine Desolate is becoming stronger and stronger. It must be known that Qin Yun and Bloodthirsty Barbarian King are both extremely strong. The energy waves released by their battle will quickly dissipate between heaven and earth. This is because the earth's absorption power is very strong and can quickly absorb these energy waves. Qin Yun could keenly sense that Deity Desolate's growth was much faster than he had imagined. In the blink of an eye, Qin Yun and the Bloodthirsty Barbarian King had exchanged hundreds of blows. The process of their battle was so fast that the magic mirror couldn't capture it and couldn't broadcast it live on the magic mirror platform. Even the experts present had to watch very carefully in order to barely catch the trajectory of the two in the air, as well as their moves. Qin Yun was strong enough to make the celestial arch of exalted celestial sect kneel before him. And this bloodthirsty barbarian king was actually able to fight evenly with Qin Yun. This made everyone present realize just how powerful the barbarians were. Qin Yun was not suppressed by his opponent. Instead, he had the upper hand. The bloodthirsty barbarian king's face was incomparably grave. He began to realize that Qin Yun was much stronger than the 10 barbarian kings and the barbarian emperor had expected. During the battle with the bloodthirsty barbarian king, Qin Yun did not use his strongest power. This was because he had discovered from the very beginning that the power used by the bloodthirsty barbarian king was not divine cosmos force. This caused Qin Yun to be very shocked. This showed that the bloodthirsty barbarian king was no longer at the divine space realm. His strength had surpassed the divine space realm, but it had not surpassed it. The power that Qin Yun used now would not be taken away by the laws of the universe. He called it the lawless power. And the power of the bloodthirsty barbarian king was very different from his lawless power. Therefore, he was very curious and did not use all his power. He wanted to continue to observe the power of the bloodthirsty barbarian king and secretly collect a little more to study. This guy's power is very different from my lawless power. What kind of power is this? Is it a new realm? Qin Yun was even more puzzled. If it was the same power as him, he would be able to feel it. This feeling was very subtle. As long as he felt it, he could immediately detect it. This guy is very strong, but his power is not as strong as my lawless power. How did he cultivate? He has clearly surpassed the limits of the divine space realm, but he is not as strong as me. If his power is not divine space force, then what kind of power is it? Qin Yun was very curious. He tried his best to fight in close combat with his opponent, so that he could collect more of his opponent's power, store it, and then take it back to study. After fighting for a while, the bloodthirsty barbarian king had a very strange feeling. He always felt that Qin Yun was only a little stronger than him. As long as he worked a little harder, he would be able to defeat Qin Yun. It was this feeling that caused him to fight with all his might. But no matter what, he was always a little bit away from breaking through Qin Yun's defense or hitting Qin Yun. Not long after, the bloodthirsty barbarian king was shocked to discover that Qin Yun was deliberately controlling his power, which gave him this illusion. During the battle, the control of power was so precise and subtle that it was difficult for the opponent to detect it. This made the bloodthirsty barbarian king horrified. Qin Yun's body was reborn from the beginning. The lawless power he cultivated was very mysterious and strange. Even he himself was still unable to fully understand how to use this power. The power of the lawless power was still unearthed. Qin Yun himself could also feel it. Let your barbarian emperor come. Qin Yun suddenly grabbed the wrist of the bloodthirsty barbarian king. Before, Qin Yun always had to dodge or block the extremely powerful slash of the bloodthirsty barbarian king. But now, Qin Yun made his move like lightning. When he grabbed the bloodthirsty barbarian king's wrist, he poured in his power and dispersed the power gathered in the bloodthirsty barbarian king's body. The bloodthirsty barbarian king's face was filled with shock. Qin Yun forcefully pulled, and the bloodthirsty barbarian king's arm was directly pulled off. Then, he pushed his palm again. Immediately, golden light flashed and the bloodthirsty barbarian king was sent flying far away. When the golden light flashed just now, Qin Yun conveniently put away the arm. When the group of barbarians saw that their bloodthirsty barbarian king was suddenly severely injured, their faces were filled with fear. The people inside the Emperor City, as well as the big shots of the major powers, are also very surprised. This is too sudden. Because Qin Yun and the bloodthirsty barbarian king were evenly matched before. But in the blink of an eye, Qin Yun ripped off the barbarian king's arm. His strength suddenly increased by a lot. This made many people can't help but think so. Qin Yun and the bloodthirsty barbarian king were just playing around? This is even more shocking. Why didn't you kill me? The bloodthirsty barbarian king has lost his will to fight. I want to let the barbarian emperor see the wound I left on you. After he sees it, he should come and fight me. Qin Yun said. If I kill you directly, he might not come. Qin Yun, we have all underestimated you. The barbarian emperor's voice suddenly sounded. I know who you want to fight with. Don't regret it when the time comes, that guy is already on the way. Chapter 33:13. Barbarian Emperor could already tell that Qin Yun wanted to fight the Nine Heavens Divine Yang Dharma Spirit. This meant that Barbarian Emperor had a better understanding of the heavenly cemetery mountain. Qin Yun knew that the Nine Heavens Divine Yang Dharma Spirit was very strong, but he had to face it because it was a very powerful threat. If he couldn't suppress it, it would definitely bring great trouble to the Ninth Divine Yang in the future. Although he had taken over the Daluo Empire, and seemed to be in complete control of the entire Daluo Empire, only he knew that the situation was not as it seemed. He was still surrounded by danger. One is the mysterious and powerful Barbarian Emperor. He said that he is fighting with the Nine Yang Law Spirit. If it is true, then it means that Barbarian Emperor's realm has long surpassed the limit. The second was the Nine Heavens Godly Yang Dharma Spirit that was about to arrive. It had just come out of the Tianmound Mountain, and no one knew where it had gone. Since the Barbarian Emperor was in contact with him, it meant that they were in cahoot. The third was Luo Yingtian. Qin Yun has a nagging feeling that Luo Yingtian is not that simple, but he can't see anything. Luo Yingtian's main soul was in his hands, and his original body had already been destroyed by him. The only thing that could still move was his doppelganger. From the looks of it, there was no threat at all. However, this was the most terrifying part. Qin Yun clearly knew that there was something odd about the matter, but he could not see through it. He could not find any flaws. The final danger was the universe's magical spirit that was about to transform into a human. At that time, he would definitely surpass the control of the universe's laws and would be extremely terrifying. These dangers had to be faced one by one and resolved. Even if he didn't face them, they would find him sooner or later. Therefore, he could not retreat, nor could he be afraid. The bloodthirsty barbarian king had already gone far away, and the group of perfectly evolved barbarians had also followed the bloodthirsty barbarian king far away from Daluo Emperor City. In the sky far away from the imperial city, there were many large warships hovering in the air. The leaders of the major forces were in those warships. When they saw the bloodthirsty barbarian king being defeated by Qin Yun, they suddenly understood why Luo Yingtian admitted defeat. It was because with Luo Yingtian's present strength, it was simply impossible for him to defeat Qin Yun. If he didn't admit defeat, then the entire great Luo Empire would be destroyed. Qin Yun was a godly monarch. He urgently needed to display his might. As long as Luo Yingtian admitted defeat and followed the rules established by Qin Yun and accepted the punishment of the divine court of the myriad worlds, he would be able to survive the crisis temporarily. Otherwise, Luo Ying would really die. You want to gang up on me? Or were they going to besiege the Daluo Empire? Hurry up and attack. Qin Yun's voice spread in all directions. All the big shots of the various factions could hear him clearly. Our Nine Heavens Island doesn't have such thoughts. The Nine Heavens Island Lord said, Sir, our Nine Heavens Island may be a grand prime organization, and it's also within the sacred land of the Nine Sun, but we've never slaughtered the local races outside the sacred land, nor have we taken over the resources of other races. The resources we occupy are all ownerless. Nine Heavens Island was very mysterious and seldom came out. Indeed, it did not attack the clans outside the sacred land. Qin Yun knew this as well. Nine Heavens Island Lord, I heard that your Nine Heavens Island is very strong. I didn't expect that you all are actually so cowardly. The one speaking was Heavenly Emperor Huoling. How are we cowards? You, on the other hand, are powerful enough to occupy a large amount of resources and precious land in the Nine Sun sacred ground, but you're still not satisfied. You even ran out of the sacred ground to kill the native tribes. I think you guys are the real cowards. If you have the guts, why don't you go and kill the barbarians for training? The Nine Heavens Island Lord chuckled and said, Heavenly Emperor Huoling, you guys are from the outerverse, you should be more well-behaved. Qin Yun became even more curious about this Nine Heavens Island. He couldn't help but link them to the 9 Heaven Divine Sun Law Spirit. 9 Heaven's Island Lord reminded Qin Yun that Heavenly Emperor Huoling's main body was here, inside the large battleship that was emitting flames. These large battleships had consumed a lot of energy at the Heavenly Cemetery Mountain not long ago, so their current defensive power was definitely weaker. This was the best time to attack them. Qin Yun already started forming hand seals and secretly activated the 9 Sun World Extermination Scripture. He hasn't used this powerful technique for a long time. Now, his control over the 9 Sun Divine Spirit has improved a lot compared to before, and the Divine Sun inside is also getting stronger and stronger. Compared to before, there's even an evil Sunday. Right now, he is activating the 9 Sun World Extermination Scripture to release the Great Tribulation mainly through the 9 Sun Divine Spirit and then borrowing the power of the 4 Divine Suns. The 9 Heavens Islands large battleship has already flown away from the group of battleships. That large battleship looks like an island. The battleships of the other Taisha factions and the 3 empires, as well as some small kingdoms, are still gathered together. These factions have either massacred the local strong races outside the sacred land or have declared that they will fight against the Myriad Realms Divine Court. They have even fought with the deity gods of the Myriad Realms Divine Court and even killed them. Therefore, Qin Yun will not let them go. In that case, they must unite to fight against Qin Yun. Suddenly, 9 huge balls of light appeared in the sky, followed by a terrifying dragon's might. Luo Shuang and Luo Ye are together at this moment. Sensing such a terrifying aura, they immediately entered the imperial palace of Great Luo Imperial City. The earth trembled slightly. Everyone can feel that a terrifying great tribulation is about to descend. 9 Sun World Extermination Scripture? This is too terrifying. This power has already far surpassed the divine space realm. No, even the power released by the peak of the divine space realm is about the same. Luo Shuang looked at the sky in horror. Although Qin Yun's target is not Great Luo Imperial City, everyone in the city is terrified by the 9 huge light balls in the sky. They only feel that a great calamity is about to descend. He borrowed the power of the 4 divine suns. Luo Yaya looked at the 9 incomparably huge light balls in the sky and mumbled, "They look like 9 small divine suns and they also have an evil aura. What is going on?" Among the few divine suns in Qin Yun's 9 Sun Divine Soul, the strongest is Xieyang. This is because the universe law spirit specially strengthened this divine sun to preserve the divine sun blood seed. Therefore, he released the world extermination calamity and released a large amount of Xieyang's power. As long as he can use it properly, this Xieyang divine power will make the other divine sun's divine power even more violent and intense. Calamities must be like this. Only then will they have enough destructive power to destroy. The big shots inside the battleships are also secretly afraid. Some of the big shots saw the 9 huge light balls in the sky gradually turning black and immediately controlled their battleships to move away. They realized that Qin Yun is about to release an evil and terrifying calamity. Once it descends, it will definitely cause great damage to their battleship. The battleships of the 3 great empires and other Taisha powers did not move. Moreover, they also shouted at the other small kingdoms not to run. This is a very important moment. Their alliance is facing Qin Yun alone. If they were to flee, then they would not be able to survive in the God Desolate anymore. I want to chat with more like-minded people about $article_title? WeChat followed Udo Literature. Chat about life, find bosom friends. Chapter 33:14. The evil energy released by Qin Yun caused many people to be shocked. Especially those who became familiar with Qin Yun recently, such as Phoenix Queen, Dragon Turtle King, 9 Dragon King, and others. In their eyes, Qin Yun is a very righteous person. he should not have such evil power. According to common sense, only people who are very evil can cultivate such evil and powerful evil energy. Only people familiar with Qin Yun know that this is Qin Yun's strongest state. After Qin Yun entered the extreme evil devil state, he could erupt with even greater power. Evil devil power is violent and powerful. As long as one can control it, one can use this power. Luo Shuang's scalp is numb. She has seen people who cultivate evil devil power. Most of them are people with extremely twisted thoughts. They can't maintain their rationality. They are completely swallowed by evil consciousness. They will go crazy easily. But Qin Yun is releasing such powerful evil power now. He is terrifyingly calm. He can use this power very calmly. Luo Shuang was once the Nine Heavens goddess. She knows very well that it is very difficult to control this kind of evil devil power. Even lost spirits can't do it. Evil devil power is very powerful, but people who cultivate this power can't control it in the end. They are swallowed by the evil devil power. They become walking corpses that only know how to slaughter. Evil yang power is really powerful. It doesn't disappoint me. This is the first time Qin Yun released such powerful evil yang power. The power also surprised him. This strengthened his determination to create devil yang in the future. Evil yang and devil yang must work together to reach the peak of power. Qin Yun, you really are an evil devil. Heavenly Emperor Hualing shouted angrily. You can use such powerful evil power. You must have cultivated evil Tao for many years. Idiot, if I really am an evil devil, why would I give you the chance to escape? Qin Yun sneered. You really don't plan to escape? Qin Yun really gave them the chance to escape. If the other party's alliance fled, everyone in Divine Desolate would see it clearly. Everyone knows that they are afraid of the Divine King. Moreover, after they flee, Qin Yun also has a way to chase after them. At that time, everyone will see Qin Yun single-handedly killing the Empire and Taisha forces. We have never been afraid of you. Heavenly Hong Empire's Heavenly Emperor said calmly. Today, we will enforce justice on behalf of heaven and eliminate this evil devil Qin Yun. The divine wilderness must not be controlled by this evil demon. The great blue sky, the arch said coldly. Qin Yun thought nothing of such claims. Long ago, they had used the magic mirror to smear his name. In the gods' wilderness, as long as one's strength reached a certain level, there was nothing to fear. You fellows from the outerverse, now that you're in my territory, not only are you not obedient, but you're also acting all arrogant and rude. Today, it's time for you to pay the price. The 9 black gas masses that Qin Yun had condensed in the air were like 9 pitch-black little evil suns. At this moment, they were trembling slightly, which meant that the condensed power was about to exceed the limits of Qin Yun's control. Those empires and grand prime powers also thought about breaking the 9 black energy balls, but they didn't dare, because they know Qin Yun cultivates Nether Sunday. If they crazily attacked the 9 balls of black gas, they would only provide energy. In fact, that was indeed the case. That was why Qin Yun dared to release it in such a high-profile manner. He could not wait for the other party to provide energy for their attack. Unfortunately, those big shots did not fall for it. At that moment, Qin Yun's entire body was shrouded in black gas. He looked extremely evil, especially when he revealed a row of spotlessly white teeth and smiled. He looked extremely evil. Go! Qin Yun immediately urged the tribulation to erupt. 9 ear-splitting dragon roars suddenly echoed. This kind of roar is not only shocking, it also causes people's blood to stand on end. This is the 9 dragon brilliant sun tribulation. 9 incomparably huge, evil black dragons suddenly rushed out of the 9 huge energy balls, blotting out the sky and covering the sun. Great Luo Imperial City was instantly enveloped in darkness. The sky within a radius of several 100,000 li has been blotted out by the 9 evil dragons. The evil dragons crazily roared, bringing with them a vast and evil aura. They charged down from the sky as if they want to destroy the earth. Seeing this scene, many people trembled from head to toe. Even if those battleships tried to run away, they would still be hit by this great tribulation. The dragons are very big, they can swallow several battleships in one gulp. What is even more dreadful is that just as the 9 dragons rushed out of the black gas balls, the second batch of 9 dragons came out of the black gas balls. Boom, 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 the dragons roared and attacked the earth from the sky, enveloping the battleships and erupting waves of black energy, unceasingly shaking and producing loud rumbling sounds. Just as the first batch of 9 evil dragons dropped down, the second batch immediately followed. Then the third, fourth, fifth, each batch has 9 evil dragons, making a total of 9 batches. Qin Yun released 9 Dragon Brilliance Sun Tribulation several times before, but it was not the most complete one. The 9 Dragon Brilliance Sun Tribulation he is using now is the most complete one, but it is still not the strongest. To reach the strongest, he needs to gather 9 divine suns in his 9 sun divine soul or mobilize the power of all the divine suns in the sky. Only then can he release the strongest tribulation. Great Luo imperial cities, great Luo people are all trembling with fear. Previously, Qin Yun planned to use this move to attack Great Luo imperial city. Can Great Luo imperial city withstand it? No one can say for sure, but the people in the city believe that they cannot withstand it. That is why Great Luo Heavenly Emperor admitted defeat. Luo Shuang finally understands why Qin Yun dares to attack the city alone. This 9-sun world extermination scripture is too dreadful. Heaven and earth are enveloped by evil black energy. Sunlight cannot penetrate the black energy. Those large battleships have already crashed to the ground. It is unknown whether the big shots inside are alive or dead. Even if they are alive, they would not dare to fight against Qin Yun again. This should be 9 Dragon Brilliance Sun Tribulation. Luo Yaya said in low voice. She was also scared earlier. This power is simply capable of destroying heaven and earth. Is this the only move of 9-sun world extermination scripture? Luo Shuang asked. Of course not. Divine King should only be able to use the simplest moves. I don't know too much about it. I only know that he rarely uses 9-sun world extermination scripture. The simplest moves are already so dreadful, then wouldn't the other moves be even more dreadful? The black evil energy in heaven and earth was quickly absorbed back into the 9-sun divine soul. When the sunlight reappeared, a large number of large battleships crashed to the ground outside the imperial city. The scene is very shocking. Hundreds of thousands of meters-long battleships were all shot down by a single person. This person is the Divine King of Divine Desolate. I want to chat with like-minded people about $article_title. $article_title. On WeChat and follow Udo Literature to chat about life and find a bosom friend. Chapter 33:15. The fallen battleship was still very sturdy. It was only damaged and lost the ability to fly, but it did not fall apart. However, there were many cracks. Most of the people in the battleship were injured to varying degrees. After all, this was a series of 9 attacks. After the first 2 or 3 attacks, the defenses of these large warships could not withstand it, and they cracked and fell to the ground. After landing on the ground, they continued to be battered and battered. The evil tribulation power was filled with destructive power, and without enough power, it was impossible to resist. The world that had regained its calm was still enveloped by a terrifying might, causing people to feel an indescribable sense of fear from the bottom of their hearts. This was especially so for the battleship that had just been bombarded. Only the group of big shots were not injured, while the others were all injured. There were tens of thousands of people in total, and they did not dare to stay in the battleship. When they came out of the battleship, there seemed to be a terrifying force brewing between heaven and earth. Was another calamity coming? Even though Luo Shuang was in the Luo Imperial City, She could clearly feel that terrifying influence spreading in her heart. Even her soul couldn't help but shiver. This time, Qin Yun's release of the calamity was silent. It wasn't like before when he created 9 gigantic black gas blobs floating in the air. What is it this time? Is it still the 9 dragons' glorious sun tribulation? Luo Shuang hurriedly asked Luo Ye. I don't know. In the 9 sun world annihilation scripture, I only know of the 9 dragons' glorious sun tribulation. Qin Yun has used it many times. Luo Yaya quickly shook her head. She once collected a lot of information about Qin Yun. The information about the 9 sun world annihilation scripture was pitifully little. She only collected the 9 dragon glorious sun tribulation. I don't think it's the 9 dragons brilliant sun tribulation anymore. It should be something else. Luo Yaya added. While Qin Yun was preparing for the 9 dragons glorious sun tribulation, he was also preparing for another great tribulation. This great tribulation was also very powerful, and it mainly relied on the power of the 4 god sons. The energy of the 4 god sons was very powerful. It would be a waste not to use it. Especially now, he had to borrow the power of the 4 god sons. Otherwise, it might be cut off again in the future. The 4 god sun was a super god sun, and its energy was rather special. It was even a mother sun. Qin Yun had previously collected a large amount of energy from the 4 divine suns for research. Back then, he could not figure out anything from his research. He only knew that the energy of the 4 divine suns was different from others. As for the mother sun, that was what the 9 young divine maidens said. However, they did not understand the importance of the mother sun. But now, Qin Yun somewhat understood the special characteristics of the 4 divine suns. The reason why the 4 divine suns could produce special energy was because they were giving birth to a divine sun blood seed. He was just guessing. Under most circumstances, only Xie Yang and Demon Yang would be able to breed the god sun blood seed easily. It was extremely rare for a supersized divine sun to produce a divine sun lifeblood. Qin Yun also understood why it was called a Mother Sunday. To be able to produce a divine sun blood seed meant that the power of this super divine sun was very powerful. As one of the participants in the creation of the 4 divine suns, Qin Yun could borrow the power of the 4 divine suns. Although the amount of energy he borrowed was relatively small, it was still a very terrifying power after descending into the divine desolate. Qin Yun used the 9 sun world annihilation scripture to draw in more of the 4 divine suns' power. According to old brother Taisher, the 9 sun world annihilation scripture might be a type of divine sun cultivation technique. Therefore, the 9 sun world annihilation scripture mainly used the power of the divine sun. Qin Yun floated high in the sky, looking down at the group of people who are fleeing in panic. It is like looking at a group of ants that are about to die. However, the upper echelons of the 3 empires and the Taisher powers still have some strength after all. Moreover, they also realized that the disparity between them and Qin Yun is too great. Not only has Qin Yun surpassed the divine space realm, he can also borrow the power of the 4 divine suns. He doesn't even need to use any divine king heavenly seal. It is more than enough to deal with them. Their hearts are filled with hatred. If not for the universe robbing them of their cultivation, Qin Yun would be like a bug in their eyes. How could he be in such a sorry state now? Once, they dominated a universe and were invincible existences in the universe. Ever since their cultivation regressed and the power of the divine universe in their bodies was taken away, their lives were getting worse day by day. In the divine desolate, I am the heavenly tribulation. All of you can begin your tribulation now. After Qin Yun's voice spread out, countless violent thunder suddenly rushed down from the sky and crazily bombarded a large area of land in front of him. This wave of violent thunder descended and killed more than 10,000 people. Most of them suffered heavy injuries. After the thunder that reverberated through the sky faded away, waves of terrified screams came from the distance. The people inside the great Luo imperial city broke out in cold sweat. If this wave of thunder fell on the great Luo imperial city, millions of people would have died. They would have instantly turned into energy and dissipated. Even if they could block it, they would have suffered heavy injuries. Even the golden-skinned barbarians in the distance felt their hair stand on end. They are extremely afraid. Qin Yun used the sun-breaking heavenly lightning tribulation 9 times in a row. Every time thunder and lightning descended, it would cover a large area and take the initiative to attack any living beings in that area. The heavenly tribulation has not appeared for a very long time. Now that it has appeared again, it was summoned by the divine King Qin Yun. The sun-breaking heavenly lightning tribulation is still brewing. The second wave of violent thunder descended, and a large number of people were killed in endless fear. Just as the third lightning tribulation was about to descend, those people who were originally in despair suddenly sensed a very powerful aura. Qin Yun frowned. The person he was waiting for has finally arrived. He immediately released the third lightning tribulation. Not long after this lightning tribulation descended from the sky, it is as if it was caught by a huge invisible net. These dreadful thunder and lightning became chaotic in the sky and unceasingly leaped up. It is as if they are fish struggling in a huge net. Seeing this scene, the Empire and Taisher Powers people loudly cheered because they are saved. They know that the 9 Heaven Divine Sun Law Spirit has arrived. This is the human transformation law spirit they released from the heavenly cemetery mountain. When the universe law spirit told them to do this, they were very unwilling, but in the end they still did it. Now they finally know why the universe law spirit released this formidable human transformation law spirit. It is to suppress Qin Yun. The countless thunder and lightning leaping up in the sky did not disperse. Instead they were condensed together by another power and transformed into a huge, sharp sword. The huge sword burst with thunder and lightning and suddenly stabbed towards Qin Yun like a bolt of lightning. This guy is truly powerful. Qin Yun immediately released a huge nether sun that floated above the Emperor City. The huge sword stabbed forward and entered the nether sun. It is as if it entered a bottomless pit of darkness. There is not a single ripple. Qin Yun stored the nether sun and looked at the middle-aged man in front of him. This is the 9 Heaven Divine Sun Law Spirit. Seeing this person's appearance, Qin Yun is shocked. Luo Shuang is even more shocked. She is completely stunned. Because this person's appearance is exactly the same as Luo Yingtian. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.